Lee Sapung turns around and throws his sword. He had this rehearsed and puts origin chi behind it. The blade goes out like a struck match at Jin Gyol's face, under 50 feet between them. Jin Gyol has enough training to count as a martial artist and nowhere near enough to move, and sits frozen while it comes. I put 2 fingers up beside his head and catch it. The blade shivers between them and rings. He turns and finds the hand was mine, not Yang Joljung's, and something in his face reorganizes, because the harmless young sect leader apparently does that. Yang Joljung is just as startled, for 2 reasons. He asked for sword forms, and the boy tried to kill a guest, and my hand was faster than his. He is now wondering, with real discomfort, whether I am not far behind Gang Joha. I throw the sword aside and it sticks in the dirt, swaying. Then I round on Lee Sapung and tell him he is out of his mind, that I asked for a move and not that, and to get down and apologize. He drops off the eaves, runs over and does it. Jin Gyol produces a smile and says it was nothing. Inside he went through shock and anger and came out near excitement, because the sect just proved it can do what it says. I kick Lee Sapung in the backside and we resume. The rest is smooth. We establish what the Jin family needs, then go into the exchange of benefits without dressing it up. An hour later, he hurries down the mountain and Yang Joljung walks him out. The arrangement is this. Every year the Jin family sends the sect a large sum of money and a large volume of supplies. In return, we take 6 Jin family children under 12 and teach them martial arts, and one of them I take as my own personal disciple. I see them off at the mountain gate and watch them go down. Then a line of text opens before my eyes. Because the Clear Sky Sect has taken external funding for the first time while keeping its autonomy, I have earned a legacy reward. So the first real development of a Dao lineage triggers a reward. I turn that over, because it means aiming a great deal of future thinking at that mechanism. Then I walk into the school to see what I have opened. Down in the forest, Jin Gyol remarks that the sect leader is young but deep-minded, and the boy Lee Sapung was ruthless in a way that must have been arranged. Young Joljung laughs, says he would not know, and points out that nobody got hurt. It was the most efficient way for a guest to feel the strength of the Clear Sky Sect firsthand. Jin Gyol nods and lets it go, his ambitions large enough that he will not waste energy resenting my methods. If anything, he is relieved, because his worry before coming was that the sect would not survive long enough to be worth investing in, which is why his father stayed home. The sect has a reputation, and the last 2 sect leaders were famous men, so in Simpung's retirement was always going to draw eyes. Now he looks forward to whatever stories this school leaves behind. Yang Joljung tells him, seriously, that the most powerful person in the sect was not even present today, that the boy is more frightening again, and that he is careful not to offend him. He says he recommended the Jin family purely on his friendship with Jin Gyol's father. Then he warns that once the reputation of these geniuses spreads, aristocratic families and high officials will come up to curry favor, and the Jin family will not find a place in the line. Jin Gyol follows the logic and thinks a moment. Then he says that beyond what was agreed, he sends more money and supplies out of his own pocket, and warns his son as the personal disciple. Young Joljung laughs and asks whether he is arranging himself a fallback. Jin Gyol answers calmly that where there are too many brothers, there is always trouble. That sends Yang Joljung somewhere private, and the 2 vanish into the trees. The moment they are gone, I walk into my room and shut the door. The disciples are busy and none notice anything unusual. I sit cross-legged on the bed and open the legacy reward. The panel offers to claim it, then to activate the Dao lineage legacy, then tells me I have obtained a secret technique called the Rejuvenating Ghost Immortal Needle, and asks if I accept. A secret technique. I accept before the question has finished arriving. Memory floods my head in a mass, a sensation I had almost forgotten and immediately want more of. So, I close my eyes and let it take me under. When I surface, it is dusk outside the window. Going back through what I have been given, I cannot keep the grin off my face. The Rejuvenating Ghost Immortal Needle stops bleeding, draws poison, and stimulates the organs, and its applications in the medical Dao are close to universal. It also kills. The needles travel like lightning and arrive from unpredictable directions, presumably where the ghost immortal in the name comes from. It runs on origin chi, and while healing can cost a great deal, killing a man with it costs almost nothing, which makes it far more useful right now than the Supreme Sword Control Art, since my origin chi cannot support the huge open movements the sword art wants. Flicking needles off my fingertips costs nearly nothing and kills anything I point it at. The more I sit with it, the better I like it. The legacy hands me no mastery, but it welds the technique into memory down to the last character, and having it perfectly is most of the work. I get up, straighten my clothes, and go out to eat, because the second layer of the nourishing origin realm cuts down how much I sleep, but has not freed me from grain. In the courtyard, the disciples lay out food, and I take my chair. Lee Se-jim and Seo Young and several others are arguing about the Jin family. Lee Se-jim, always the brave one, asks outright whether we are getting another batch of disciples. Every face turns hopeful, because to a child, new people are the best news there is. I tell them yes, that today's visitor sends 6 juniors, and beyond those 6 we recruit a great deal more over the next half year. My plan is 50 disciples on this mountain by the end of the year. The table detonates into conversation. Yang Jiljong sits at the far end with a small smile and says nothing, keeping his contribution to himself, privately certain today counts as a great achievement. He is impatient now to be taught the sect's unique internal skill, because he wants to see what makes a pack of children this dangerous. Night comes in and the oil lamps go up. After the table breaks apart, some disciples stay out playing, and Lee Dongwol and I carve a handful of wooden sticks, because we have weapons now but no silver needles. I tell them they have worked hard and to rest early, gather the sticks, and head for the house. It is too dark to be cultivating a needle technique, and I would rather start tomorrow after absorbing chi. Lee Dongwol stays on her stool watching my back go, her eyes full of a question she does not ask. Jang Okchun comes to my room that night, uneasy about the Jin family disciples, because 6 arriving together form a block almost automatically, and 1 will be my direct disciple. I talk him down and send him to bed. I have a plan for them, and it is not the one he fears. Those 6 do not walk in and receive what everyone else has. Inside the sect, the line between senior and junior will be visible from a distance, and so will the line between the immortal path and the martial one. Unless a child's aptitude is outstanding, they train martial arts first, and earn the true transmission by merit. The details need work, because my head is entirely full of needles. I cannot cultivate the technique tonight, but I can go over the key points until they are set. I spend 2 days on the rejuvenating Ghost Immortal Needle. Progress is slow enough that I miss the sword arts, and wonder how long until I can copy a second destiny. 3 days after Jin Gyo leaves, Gang Joha and the 2 boys come back with a tailor. The mountain road has finished the man off, and he goes down inside the gate. Jang Okchun runs for water. I am in no hurry about robes, so I pull Gang Joa in to talk, and Jang Okchun and Lee Dongwol follow. That leaves the disciples circling the tailor like a fallen bird, and Yang Jiljong so deep in the Hanwhan scripture, he has stopped noticing the world. Gang Joha goes through the trip in detail. Beyond the tailor and the cloth, he spent the time asking questions and found us a way to make money. The city has bounty postings, some suspicious cases where somebody wants the real culprit found, some bandit suppression, and the payouts are not small. He says we can take those and escort work near the Taegon mountain range, and grins from his stool, certain it could build our treasury fast. Jang Okchun asks for the actual figures. He compares them against something in his head and says it is too little to be worth doing. A man could work himself into the grave on those and never match what the Jin family sends every year. Gang Joha frowns and asks what the Jin family has to do with anything, and Jang Okchun tells him the whole arrangement. He does not like it. He says we need not lower ourselves begging from others when we can make our own money. I tell him irritably that if he spends his hours making money, he will never practice, and to remember what he is. They are the senior tier of the sect. Their function is not errands, and that goes double for him. He is to spend most of his life practicing. Once he is the first name in the martial world, how many people will beg for the privilege of sending us money? Lee Dongwol says my point stands, and reminds her 3rd senior brother that the 7 Peaks Alliance and the Azure Sect could come any time with any number of experts. That lands, and his forehead smooths out. She is right. There is a serious fight ahead of him, and a man with a fight coming does not spend afternoons chasing bounty postings. I tell him plainly that as long as he is strong enough, nobody can threaten our position. He nods and says that from now on, when not practicing, he is on the supreme sword control art. Jang Okchun and Lee Dongwol look openly envious. I showed it to them too, but reading it gave both a headache, and they concluded it was beyond them. Comprehension ability is where Gang Joha and I have left them behind. So I lay out the arrangement. 3rd junior brother concentrates on practice. Jang Okchun takes over the day-to-day running of the school, and I will make time to cultivate Lee Dongwol the way she deserves. That last part unsettles her, because she is already afraid of disappointing me. But she is who she is, and however many reservations she has, she will never refuse me. Jang Okchun does not find the load unwelcome. He is thrilled. More disciples means more ground to work, and I have told him to prepare another round of recruiting. Gangzhou adds that he will examine the 6 Jin family juniors personally, and I laugh and let him have it. The tailor gets today to recover, and tomorrow we push the sect robes through. Next morning, I hand the tailor the drawing I prepared, my own design. Since all I had was black ink, I have to talk him through which parts take which colors. Once he understands, I take Li Dongwall down to teach her the rejuvenating Ghost Immortal Needle. I have not mastered it either, which makes her the ideal person to fail alongside. The way I see it, my 6 junior brothers and sisters each master a different spell and cover one another's gaps. Sunlight burns the ranges a scorched yellow, as though the landscape were left in an oven. A wide river winds between 2 ridgelines with a road beside it, and along it several hundred martial artists ride hard on fiery horses, dragging a wall of dust. Some carry large flags with the words 7 Peaks on them, and the column moves with the weight of an army. They wear matching cyan robes, the right sleeve pulled off the shoulder and streaming like flame. Each left shoulder carrying brass armor cast as a tiger's head. Every face is cold and the killing is not hidden. The formation pours through the mountains like an azure dragon, and nothing suggests it can be stopped. The young man at the front asks the man beside him whether this is not too much. They could have taken him Simpung before he retired, and here comes an army. The middle-aged man is Ak Jinxian, one of the 7 leaders of the alliance, a famous name with the martial arts behind it. His expression does not shift. He answers that Mo Gugyo has been gone far too long to be alive, and the man was nothing remarkable. But a school that dares put him down has decided to face the alliance directly. The martial world is full of unseen currents, so the alliance cannot afford carelessness. Total ruin, he says, usually begins as one small failure. The young man nods. He does not agree, privately, but he will not say so to his master. He changes the subject and asks how powerful Im Simpung is to hold the whole Taegon mountain range, since their territory nearly matches the alliance's. Every disciple within earshot turns to listen. Ok Jinxian says the Sect's grip on that range came from Im Simpung's master, who made the martial world shake until he suffered chi deviation and vanished without trace. Im Simpung inherited perhaps 3/10 of that, and 3/10 held the mountain. Once 3 alliance leaders joined hands against him and could not bring him down. His voice carries no feeling while he says it. The young man asks whether his master was one of the 3. Ak Jinshen says, never crossing swords with Im Simpung is a great regret of his life, and he hopes to meet him this time. Then he cracks his whip, his horse screams, and the column accelerates behind him. At high noon, the disciples gather in the courtyard staring at Jang Okchun in a new sect robe. It is blue, wide in the sleeve, cinched hard at the waist, and though neither fine nor expensive, it makes him look upright and impressive. By the standards of this mountain, where the usual garment is a patch holding hands with another patch, it is magnificent. He shakes his sleeves out and asks whether they are too large for sparring. I tell him it looks good, and that the Clear Sky Sect is not a school that lives by brawling. This is the first version, and we keep improving until the robes are worth looking at. It is still a long way from carrying the presence of a cultivator, but it no longer reads as an ordinary martial artist either, and for now that is enough. The tailor sees me satisfied and lets out a breath he has held since arriving, because the workload turned out heavier than agreed. I take Yang Zhejiang and the 7 village disciples into the forest behind the mountain. Huang San and Murim and the other 5 line up and wait. I tell them that from the moment I took the seat, the sect started walking a new road. The name over the gate is old, but this is a new school with different martial arts and rules. They are the first disciples the new Clear Sky Sect recruited, and as the numbers grow, they carry more. All 7 straighten up and go serious on me. So I give them the rest of it. Whatever their aptitude and comprehension ability, every disciple after them owes them respect, and I am not handing out empty titles. From today, they hold the name 7 Sons of the Clear Sky Sect. Yang Jiljiang teaches them top-tier internal skill and hands them unique techniques one at a time. I intend them to walk the martial world alone before adulthood. Yang Jiljiang picks it up and tells them what he teaches now is his real martial arts, not the decorative material he has been handing out, and that no other disciple receives it. He means it. Since starting the Hanwha scripture, he has concluded his life's work is not worth a fraction of what he now studies, which makes giving it away painless. The 7 sons already failed the Hanwha scripture, so putting them on his road saves everyone years. There is a nerve running under the promise, because if he cannot master the Hanwha scripture himself, he does not know how he would live with that. Huang San answers first, promising they will not fail me, and the other 6 look at me with something close to gratitude. After the Honwan scripture broke them, they assumed I would write them off and park them here 10 years before sending them down. I say a few more encouraging things and leave the rest to young Joljong, because he is not Gang Joha and will not vanish into his own cultivation. Half his time belongs to these children. I do not go back up. I go down to keep working on the needle technique. I can see the shape of the road now, but seeing it and walking it are very different distances. Next morning, Li Sapung and Li Sejiem and Seo Yang go down together toward the underground spirit lake. Li Sapung walks in front with a stick, using it as a sword, announcing the names of moves to nobody. The two girls follow, holding hands, talking about the seven sons and their new training, since from this morning they no longer practice alongside them. Li Sejiem aside, Li Sapung and Seo Yang can defend themselves now, and Seo Yang spars with me for real experience. That is the only reason I am comfortable letting the three go down alone. As for the seven sons, failing the Hanwon scripture showed them how far above them it sits, and they guard their training hours jealously. Li Sapung reaches the hillside, leaps off it, lands on the grass, and drops to one knee. He sweeps his stick through the air and holds a pose he is pleased with, muttering about a sword that slays dragons and nobody in this world being like him. He keeps his head down, a boy who has just killed something enormous. Then something reaches him, and his head comes up. 100 feet off in the trees, people are watching him. Matching robes, horses held by the bridle, all standing still and looking at him like a row of ghosts. And his chest goes tight, of all the luck. Last time it was Du Hyunpung and one boy, this time an army, and he has not reached the water. The air around these people is not the air around travelers. His mind goes to the Seven Peaks Alliance and the Azure Sect, and he turns toward the girls at the top of the slope. Before he can signal, Seo Young has already found them. Hundreds of men standing among trees holding horses do not look like hundreds. They look like a country. He weighs running and drops it, because it would tell them at once he is a Clear Sky Sect disciple. Staying means 3 children can play innocent, and maybe get something out of them. Then a middle-aged man swings down off his horse and walks over alone, raising a hand to hold the rest where they are. Li Sapung relaxes half a degree, because a man who comes alone is leaving room for conversation. And if it turns bad, he can take that leader and push the rest back with him. Having settled that, he goes calm underneath and arranges a frightened expression on the surface. Li Sejiem whispers to ask what they should do, having never faced anything like this, her body, afraid without consulting her. Seo Young, whose face has not moved, whispers back the story they agreed on. They are from somewhere else, came up the mountain with their parents, and got separated. Li Sejiem nods and takes hold of her sleeve. The man walking over is Ok Jin Shen. He puts on the gentlest smile he owns and tells the little brother not to be nervous, that they are government men passing through who would like directions. Government. Li Sapung glances into the forest and finds a flag with the word 7 Peaks stitched across it, and no muscle in his face reports it. He does not answer, and he does not run, and the not running is what makes Ok Jin Shen comfortable. Ok Jin Shen stops 7 steps away and asks, still smiling, where the boy is from and why he cannot see any adults. All 3 wear Clear Sky Sect robes, but Ok Jin Shen has never seen them and the words Clear Sky are embroidered nowhere, so he assumes village children from a family that does well. Li Sapung answers carefully that they are from Maison Township, came to visit distant relatives with their uncles, and got lost. Ok Jin Shen says he will help them look, then asks whether the boy has run into anyone else on this mountain recently. Li Sapung says he will have to think, and that actually now that he mentions it, and before the sentence is finished he comes off the ground at the man like a leopard. He is fast enough that Ok Jin Shen, who runs the Goju Prefecture martial world, and has survived more fights than the boy has lived years, is caught flat-footed. He gives ground, and Li Sapung's hand is already closed on the robe over his chest. Then his knee comes up into the boy in midair, and Li Sapung, not expecting that speed, slaps at it with his left palm. The impact throws him. He lands badly and ends up on the grass on his backside, a fistful of torn bloody cloth in his right hand. Ok Jin Shen stumbles a few steps himself before he stops. He looks down at 5 bloody furrows across his chest, and the sight puts something into him that will not come out. His face turns vicious and he says through his teeth that the little brother is truly ruthless, and asks when the sect started producing a genius like this. The martial world is full of prodigies, and he has never seen a boy this age draw his blood. Li Sapung shouts at the 2 girls to get up the mountain, that he will hold them off and follow. Li Sejong hauls her away bodily. Ok Jin Shen does not chase, because 2 girls barely into their teens cannot trouble him, and the Clear Sky Sect is a long way up. He sneers and asks whether the boy knows him, since across Goju Prefecture few would speak to him this way. Lee Sepung pulls the dagger from his back, points it, and says somebody said something similar not long ago, and the moment they fought that man lost his nerve and started begging. Inside, he is barely holding together. He can feel that this one is nothing like anything he has faced. Ok Jinchen snorts and comes at him. Internal chi erupts out of him, into wind circling his body. His hands become claws and start reaching, and Lee Sapung throws himself clear over and over. Since the first layer of the nourishing origin realm, his reactions have sharpened enormously, and his body turned slippery. Outside sparring with third senior brother, he has never felt pressure, because everyone else seems slow. This man is not slow. He is terrified. His speed is not enough, and all he can do is stagger clear with no chance of answering. Then his back finds the slope, and there is nowhere left to give. The swift wind technique saves him. He ducks under the man's armpit, jumps, arches like a fish coming out of water, and lands light on the hillside. Ok Jinshin cannot find him, and when he turns back, the boy stands above him, and the humiliation drives his face into something ugly. Lee Sapung spits at him, turns, and runs. Ok Jinshin takes it full in the face, and for one whole second the leader of the column simply stands there. Behind him, his martial artists come pouring out of the trees. Several watched a child jump clean over their leader and decided they had seen wrong, until one woke and the rest followed. Ok Jinshin wipes his face and orders them up the mountain to wash the clear sky sect in blood. Then he goes first, throwing himself into the forest with his lightfoot technique. Lee Sapung moves through the trees like something built for it, both hands on the logs and rocks that block him, and no ordinary person could stay with him. Unfortunately, the thing behind him is a martial world expert. He looks back and sees Ok Jinshin leaping along the branches, covering enormous ground with each push, appearing from a distance to fly between the trunks. The gap is closing fast. Lee Sapung sets his teeth and pulls on his origin chi. Without noticing, he is getting better at the swift wind technique by the second, landing movements he would never attempt, and not falling once. Then wind hits him from behind, and he turns to catch at the edge of his vision, Ok Jinshin dropping on him like an eagle, both palms up front. He cannot get clear. The blow takes him across the back, blood comes up out of his mouth, and he pitches into a bush and stops moving. Sunlight comes down and blades through the forest. Gang Joha sits cross-legged in an open patch, 9 long swords hanging in the air around him, points down, trembling slightly. His hands rest on his knees, palms up, and his robe moves a little. Since committing to the supreme sword control art, he has come along fast, and 9 is what he holds now. He comes out alone every day, and this is the only route up. So he happens to be sitting on the mountain's front door. A shout arrives calling for third senior brother and saying it is bad. His eyes snap open and he finds Lee Sejium running toward him with Seo Young, her face soaked with tears, and his stomach drops before he has heard a word. He raises a hand and the 9 swords come home into the scabbards at his waist, knocking against each other and hanging heavily when he stands. Lee Sejium says many enemies are coming up the mountain, that her brother stayed behind to slow them, and begs him to save him. Gang Joha asks only which direction, and she points, and he is gone, leaving one instruction, that the 2 of them go up and not stop. Watching him go, Lee Sejium asks whether third senior brother can handle that many alone. Seo Young does not answer. She tells her to get up the mountain and inform Master, and says she will follow and look. Lee Sejium hesitates and asks whether she can. Seo Young glances at her and says not to waste time because people are going to die. Lee Sejium thinks of her brother down that slope, sets her jaw, and goes up. Seo Young takes one long breath and goes after Gang Joha. Gang Joha burns origin chi the whole way down, riding the swift wind technique, taking the mountain in pieces. He cannot stop thinking about Lee Sapung as a small child. From the day their master carried that boy up here, Gang Joha disliked him, filthy, his face permanently a mess, existing to create work for the eldest senior brother. Only in the last 2 years did that soften. Since the 2 took over running the sect, the way the boy decides things has turned his opinion around, and he thinks of Lee Sapung now as material worth shaping, a real support one day. And that future is about to be taken off the board. The killing intent comes up and he stops holding it, running faster, until he stops registering the forest. Then people appear in front of him. Martial world men in green robes spread through a pine wood, standing among the trunks like spirits, waiting for someone to walk into hell. His eyes find one of them and his vision goes red at the edges. Ok Jinxian stands on Lee Sapung's face, stepping down over and over. The boy's body jerks with each impact, and there is no telling from here whether he is alive. Gang Joha roars and drags a sword off his waist, and the sound of it clearing turns hundreds of Seven Peaks Alliance heads at once. Jin Chen looks over with the grin still on his face and sees him coming. And instead of panicking, he laughs harder. He says this is excellent timing, that the boy is already crippled, and he hopes his new guest can entertain him properly. Then he kicks Li Sepeng aside and goes at Gang Joha, while the rest pull their weapons and swing wide to cut off retreat. And then Jin Chen watches the swords behind Gang Joha's back draw themselves and circle his body, and his pupils blow open like a man who has seen the dead walk. In my room, I write out a secret manual, working through every spell I have, Li Dongwol at my elbow grinding ink. She says her handwriting is ugly and asks how to make it beautiful. I tell her that in a few months, Jang Ok-chun brings scholars up the mountain to teach her to read and write properly. The literacy of the Clear Sky Sect is close to non-existent. Teaching those junior brothers and sisters their characters nearly finished me, and the 7 sons came out of mountain villages and never learned either. Even in a world like this, reading is one of the most useful things a person can do, because it builds how a mind works and widens what it sees. She asks whether we can buy more, since the ones our master and grandmaster left are few, and she long ago tired of rereading them. I tell her, of course, keeping half my attention on the page. Then my brush stops, because a line of text has opened in front of my eyes. Because the Clear Sky Sect has repelled an invading force for the first time, the Tao lineage has passed a tribulation, and I have gained one chance to draw a destiny. Repelled an invading force. What? Invading force. The reward does not surprise me. What matters is the wording. Something has to be large before the panel calls it a force, which means numbers. And I heard nothing up here, so the fighting happened a long way down. Something has gone wrong on the mountain. I put the brush down, tell Li Dongwol to keep the disciples from peeking at the page, and I am out the door before she can answer. Clear of the courtyard, I open up the swift wind technique and go down hard. Less than a mile down, I meet Li Sejium, out of breath and enormously relieved, and she gets the whole story out in one gust. I do not have time to comfort her. I go where she points. The whole way down, I carry the same panic Gang Joha did, and I know it. I pull up the Tao lineage panel and confirm the disciple count has not dropped, which buys a little air. Then I keep checking anyway, because a number is not a promise. An incense stick later, I find all 3 in a pine wood, corpses across the ground and blood up the trunks. Gang Joha sits in the middle of it, covered in it, holding Li Sepeng. Seo Young sits off to the side, breathing hard, in better condition than either, her hair the only thing out of place. My stomach goes down through the floor. I get to Gang Joha, put a finger under Li Sepeng's nose, feel breath, and allow myself 1 second of relief. Then I look at the state of my 2 junior brothers, and the relief burns off. Gang Joha looks up and says weakly that I was right. The martial world and a battlefield are not the same thing. Never mind thousands of troops and horses, he says. A few hundred martial artists were enough to hack every one of his swords to ruin. The Clear Sky Sect has been attacked by the 7 Peaks Alliance, and 2 of its own are badly hurt, and the news goes through the mountain like a dropped stone. Every disciple ends up in the courtyard talking about the battle in deliberately low voices. Inside, Li Sepeng lies on the bed with Gang Joha meditating at his feet, and I work the rejuvenating ghost immortal needle into him. The tailor had silver needles among his things, and while they are not proper medical needles, they will do. The boy is in bad shape, ribs broken, his face ruined, teeth gone, and no consciousness since they brought him up. What saves him is that nothing is crippled, since a crippled limb is past anything my needles reach. Jang Ok-chun, Li Dongwol, Omana, Li Sejium, and Yang Zhoujiang watched from behind me without a sound. Seong sits cross-legged on a stool in the corner, circulating her qi, putting her blood and breath back in order. The room is silent, because everyone in it fears the boy will die. I take my hand back, 3 needles standing in his chest, and tell them it is finished, that Sepeng is out of danger, and all we do now is wait for him to wake. The whole room breathes out at once. Yang Zhoujiang asks Gang Joha how many the Alliance sent and who led them. Gang Joha opens his eyes and says several hundred. Their skills not poor. The leader was strong and gave him trouble, and in the end he let the man escape, though before leaving the man said the matter was not over. He does not know the name, then he adds that Seo Young arriving when she did is the only reason he is not dead. Every head in the room turns toward a 10-year-old girl sitting in the corner with her eyes shut. She does not open them. She is busy. Yang Zhoujiang is privately reeling because he has misjudged the same child twice, and he is beginning to wonder whether she is a supreme genius. He does not chase the thought. His face goes grave and he lays out the problem instead. The Seven Peaks Alliance is a major sect of the Goju Prefecture martial world, and if it comes with everything, we cannot hold. They have as many as 3,000 disciples and their experts come in clouds. 3,000. The number goes around the room and takes the air with it. A few hundred nearly killed Gang Joha, and nobody here can imagine 3,000 coming up a mountain path. I tell them to let it rest, since the survivors need time to get home before anything is decided over there. We have at least half a month of quiet ahead of us. My voice is flat, and my face gives away nothing. Inside, I am nowhere near calm. I walk out and the others follow. Jang Okchun sends disciples back to work, and Yang Joljung falls into step and asks quietly what I think. I tell him I have not thought it through, but that this does not get let go. He sighs and tells me this is the martial world, that even if you provoke nobody, someone comes looking, and that we are all still far too young. He says that if it comes to it, we move elsewhere, stay out of the light a few years, and come back for what is ours. I stop walking and look at him, and whatever is in my face makes him go slightly gray. I tell him that being young is exactly why we are not going to avoid it. I leave him standing there and walk out through the mountain gate. It is nearly dark and I go for the underground spirit lake anyway, walking faster until the night takes me. From the day I took this seat, I knew trouble was coming, which is why I wanted the sect to grow quietly and by as many years as it could. That has not worked out. I can walk away from trouble, but when it comes to my gate, I do not crouch. The Seven Peaks Alliance has come at this mountain twice, and that makes us enemies with nothing to discuss? Sit here and plan a defense for the next attack? No, I am not waiting. I extract the second destiny tonight and test the theory I have been carrying, which is whether I can force my cultivation into the third layer of the nourishing origin realm. Half an hour later, I am inside the underground spirit lake. Once I confirm there are no animals or strangers, I call up the Dao lineage panel and take Seo Young's destiny. Hers is the strongest available, and waiting for recruiting to turn up better could take years. Her cultivation speed is a shade faster than Gang Joha's, and the only thing that puts him ahead is a talent running through the Dao of the sword, worth more in a real fight. The extraction pulls me under into that deep, unreachable place, like a dream walked into with open eyes. The cavern churns, spiritual chi pouring toward me until a slow vortex forms where I sit. If the A-Net Sword Fanatic transformed comprehension ability, the Heavenly Thunder spiritual root tempers the body. Before Seo Young cultivated anything, her physique was wrong for a normal child, under 10 and able to go without food and walk 100 miles. Barring accidents, she will pass every other disciple and become the third, after Gang Joha and myself, to stand in the second layer of the nourishing origin realm. My consciousness comes apart into chaos. I seem to stand in the clouds facing an enormous heavenly thunder, terrifying it at once, showing me the way. Thunder rolls across the night sky above the Taegon mountain range, as though the heavens have opinions about today's slaughter. Gang Joha opens his eyes on full dark. Lee Dongwol and Seong have gone back to the female disciples' room. From the other bed, Huang-san asks his third martial uncle whether they can do anything, and the second generation waits for the answer. Lee Sepeng is unconscious, and the strongest man on the mountain nurses his own injuries. And the sect has never felt this dark. The seven sons are frightened, and being frightened is why they cannot stand doing nothing. Oh Mana, beside Lee Sepeng, mutters that he wants to avenge sixth junior brother. He has never had the chance to hit anything, but everyone feels how fast he is growing. Sitting still, he looks like a bear thinking about standing, and the muscle on him is close to splitting his sect robe. Jang Okchun lies with his back to them, frowning at the wall, and none can tell what he is working through. Gang Joha takes his eyes off the window and tells them to stop thinking about it. They are children and should practice hard, because nobody needs them yet. In any case, he says, he beat those enemies so badly they ran off and will not be back. Hearing him talk like that settles them, because at a moment like this they rather like his arrogance. They start asking about the battle and he tells them the whole thing plainly. Then he thinks of Seo Yang, and something cold walks up his back. He misjudged her, and her talent is not below his own. The senior brother, as usual, saw it first. Beside the underground spirit lake, silver blue light lies across my face. I open my eyes and threads of lightning move through them, which apparently does something to a face. Control of my body comes back fast. Then I understand what has happened, and I make a sound I would rather nobody had heard. I have gone straight into the third layer of the nourishing origin realm, and my strength has climbed enough that the only word is metamorphosis. The plan had been to borrow the spirit stones set into the cavern wall to force the breakthrough. I noticed long ago that those crystals hold dense spiritual chi a body could absorb. The volume would tear the meridians, though, so I never risked it or let the others touch them. If those spirit stones can feed a cultivator's progress, they are worth a great deal, and worth most to a school only now getting off the ground. I go through the origin chi in my body and find it has not only multiplied, it has changed in kind. Lightning attribute. Cultivation techniques divide by attribute, and the supreme clarity primordial scripture carries all of them at once. It is close to a collected edition of the 5 elements, taking in cultivators of any spiritual root aptitude. And from that trunk, each branches onto their own road, which is what has happened to me. My origin chi has turned to lightning and carries a domineering thunder, so anything I put it into takes that thunder and becomes far more lethal. That explains why Seo Young's origin chi always felt slightly wrong when I taught her. The spiritual chi around me has not dispersed, and looking at it, a question opens. If a destiny is tied to the body, can it be ridden upward to lift a realm? If so, that category of destiny is worth far more than I priced it. I walk to the cavern wall, work one spirit stone loose, put it inside my robe, and leave. I came down to batter my way into the 3rd layer with those stones, and since I am already in it, there is no reason to take the risk. My body is full of origin chi, and I do not need a night's rest, which means I can move now, and the 7 Peaks Alliance will not be expecting anyone at all. Half an hour later, I am back at the sect waking Yang Zhejiang. The rain has come down hard and the thunder has not stopped. He opens his door, finds me soaked, and asks what I have been doing. I ignore that and ask whether he knows the way to the 7 Peaks Alliance. He says of course that he has been a guest there, and asks what I want. I tell him to pack and come down, then leave him in his doorway. I knock on the room where my junior brothers sleep, and Jang Ok-chun opens it. I tell him, smiling, that I am taking Yang Zhejiang down to patrol the Taegon mountain range, in case 7 Peaks Alliance men are still about. While we are gone, the disciples stay close to the school and wait. He frowns and asks why I would not go tomorrow in rain like this. I wave that off and tell him a rainy night is precisely the right night for it. Then I go to my room. Behind me, he stands with something on his tongue, then decides to trust me and shuts the door. A while later, Yang Zhejiang waits at the mountain gate in a choir raincoat. I put one on too and hang the heavenly rainbow sword my master left me at my waist. Thunder rolls through the rain like something enormous losing its temper, and the Taegon mountain range sits under it and cannot breathe. We push through the woods in the downpour, and on flat ground, Yang Zhejiang turns around. He tells me traveling in this will wreck our condition, and the 7 Peaks Alliance is far away and unreachable in a few days regardless. He suggests we rest tonight and go into a town tomorrow to borrow 2 horses. He has concluded I have lost my mind and hopes cold rain restores it. I tell him we need not hurry, because all we have to catch is the group that ran from our mountain dragging wounded and unable to have gone far. He says he understands, admits he thought I meant to walk into the 7 Peaks Alliance itself, and lets out a long breath. 2 men against that place is suicide by any measure. 2 men against a column of injured martial artists is arithmetic. He tells me that in that case we should hurry, picks up his pace, and I let him. It is exactly where I wanted him. In the dark forest, he uses his lightweight technique and I the swift wind technique, and we go through the trees like ghosts, neither of us appearing to touch the ground. The night deepens and the rain eases, as though the sky has finished saying what it came to say. On a mountain road between ranges, several hundred horses move slowly. Wounded men lie across the saddles, and more than 100 others walk beside, leading them. Ok Jinshen walks at the front, rain running down his face, his eyes cold and his chest full of a fear he cannot put down. A wound on his neck came close to opening his throat. Gang Joha will not leave his head, fighting like something out of a fever. Neither will the girl behind him who nearly killed him with a single stroke. The Clear Sky Sect was hiding 2 of them, and on top of that, Li Sapeng. He cannot make the picture make sense. Not in the 7 Peaks Alliance, not among the hegemonic sects he has visited. Has he seen prodigies like these? The grudge exists now and there is no unmaking it. He has to get the news home and turn the full strength of the Alliance onto that mountain. Or in 10 years, more likely 5, it is destroyed. The more he follows the thought, the worse it gets, until he half believes the Clear Sky Sect is hiding demons up there. Everyone has heard Im Simpeng went off seeking the Tao, and a great many heroes have laughed at him for it, Ok Jinshen included. Now he wonders whether Im Simpeng ran into something on that mountain, and whether the idea came from there. The rain stops. Nothing about his mood clears with it. A deep voice out of the dark behind the column asks the heroes ahead to stop. The 7 Peaks Alliance disciples turn badly frightened, certain the Clear Sky Sect has come to finish them. Ok Jinchen turns and sees two figures in straw rain capes closing fast, and in that visibility can tell only that they are men. Two of them, and the column is still terrified. Because everyone here fought this morning, they draw their weapons and form up, without being told. They are dragging wounded and wounded themselves, so outrunning anyone is out of the question. Then Yang Juljung gives his name and asks whether the heroes know it, and the whole line relaxes. The dragon-subduing hero is not a name that requires explanation anywhere in the Goju Prefecture martial world. Ok Jinchen lets his breath out too, knowing the man personally, having watched him work at the Alliance. He privately doubts the man could beat him, but that palm technique earns its top 10 place on the heavenly ranking. He calls out to Brother Yang and invites him over, even waves, since having him along tonight would make everyone safer. Yang Jiljung quickens his step and the disciples open a path. He comes up, takes off his straw hat, and asks with a grin why they are in such a sorry state and whether they fought the Azure Sect. Ok Jinchen pays no attention to the man behind him and answers helplessly that they came on business and took a beating. Yang Jiljung looks over the wounds, clicks his tongue, and says whoever did this was a genuine expert, the sword work extremely fast and going for the kill. Ok Jinchen's face turns awkward, and he says stiffly that he was careless today. I come around Yang Jiljung's side and ask whether they are the experts from the Seven Peaks Alliance. Ok Jinchen cannot see my face and takes me for a junior. He answers casually that they are, and that the Alliance and the dragon-subduing hero are old acquaintances. He does not get to finish. There is one flash of sword light. Yang Jiljung has no time to move and takes the spray across his face, his eyes going wide and staying. Ok Jinchen's hands come up to his throat on instinct and hold nothing back. He gets one word out, looking at me, refusing to believe it, then goes over backward. The disciples closest go white and start to speak, and I open their throats as well. Not far off, Ok Jinchen's own disciple rests on a rock, reaching for his belt to inspect a wound on his thigh. He looks up in time to see his master stagger backward and hit the ground, and freezes. He is opening his mouth when the figure in the straw cape turns and throws a sword at him. The blade goes through his forehead and carries him several yards, and he dies wide-eyed and disbelieving. I run over, pull the sword out of his skull, and go into the rest of them. They turn to face me, which does not help them. The breakthrough into the third layer put me through a complete metamorphosis, and my senses, my body, and my reaction speed are all somewhere I have never been. I kill every man I pass without a wasted motion. Yang Jiljung comes out of his shock to a field of bodies, and what frightens him is not the Seven Peaks Alliance. It is me. Too fast, too ruthless. He assumed I was strong, but not this, and it occurs to him that Gang Joha is not in the same conversation. An older disciple with a savage face lifts his saber, screams at the others, and charges. The rest come with him, panicking the horses, and the neighing rolls down the line. Several wounded are thrown from the saddle and trampled where they land. For a while, the whole stretch of mountain is chaos. Every man here is injured, and even at their best, none would have matched me. It stops being a battle almost immediately and becomes a slaughter with a direction to it. Yang Jiljung watches me work, and the cold goes down his spine, never having felt killing intent this heavy off anybody. He travels the martial world, but killing never interested him, and caring more for skill and reputation than for bodies is what made him a hero. Watching me now makes him deeply uncomfortable, and he tries to argue himself into ease with it. He reminds himself that the Seven Peaks Alliance started this, that they are no righteous school, and have done a great deal of evil out here. He even remembers visiting years ago under the banner of exchanging martial arts while intending to put them in their place, and when he could not, pretending he had come to make friends. None of the arguments work. Watching me move through them like a tiger through a pen, all he thinks is how many exchanges he would last. When more than half are dead, the rest break and run. I do not allow it, and go after them one at a time. They are injured. They have been marching all night, and none of them gets far. An incense stick later, I come back with the sword still in my hand, and lift my head so Yang Jiljung sees my face under the straw hat, with the blood on it. I tell him one is left and will not get far, that after I kill him I go on to the Seven Peaks Alliance, and he stays here. Without anyone carrying the news home, the Alliance does not come back. Tomorrow he takes the disciples out to clear the corpses so we do not breed a plague. Then I start walking after the last one. 2 steps on, I look back and tell him I will trouble him with one more thing. He is to search every body, take anything of value, and bring it up the mountain. And about tonight, he breathes not a word to any disciple, including my own junior brothers and sisters, or says where I went. As far as anyone on that mountain is concerned, I was patrolling. Then I go, and the night takes me. Yang Jiu-jung stands watching my back, opens his mouth, and cannot produce a sound. Having seen what I am now, he expects that even if the trip to the Seven Peaks Alliance goes badly, I walk out without a mark. He stays until I disappear over the ridge, then turns and looks at the ground covered in bodies. The corner of his mouth twitches and he cannot make it stop. It has just occurred to him that the job I handed him is not obviously easier than the fighting was. 3 miles off, the last Seven Peaks Alliance disciple runs along a hillside. He runs out of pure terror, so his foot catches a rock and he goes down the slope end over end. When he stops, he hurts everywhere, his bones shaken loose. He drags in air and pushes himself up. Then he raises his head, his eyes go wide, and his face collapses into despair. Up on the ridge, in a straw rain cape with a sword in my hand, I look down at him. The clouds have just come apart and the bright moon is hanging directly above me. The sun sits overhead, the road is white with dust, and the carriage under me makes very good time towards Seven Peaks Town. On the bench is a plainly dressed driver in his early 50s, built like a man who has hauled things his whole life, his hair going white at no apparent cost. He wipes his forehead and asks whether we must run the horses this hard in such heat. I sit inside with my eyes closed. The road is too rough to cultivate on, so the most I manage is to keep from burning through my strength and origin chi before I arrive. Seven Peaks Town sits close to the Alliance, well known enough that escort companies and official caravans break their journeys there. Once inside, finding the Alliance's front door should not be difficult. This is the road Yang Jiu-jung told me to take. With Ok Jinxian and his column already finished on that mountain road, there is no reason to rush. I only want to get there and home before my junior brothers and sisters start worrying. So I tell the driver people are expecting me and will fret if I miss the date. He takes it to heart, since I look younger than his own son, and says he would not rest easy if his boy were out here. Then he goes on about the world sliding back into chaos, and the prefectural government failing to hold down the powerful local families. Ordinary people are pushed off their land and turn up as bandits and mountain robbers. He admits he did not want this run, except his wife is sick and the money must come from somewhere. I let him talk and answer here and there. 2 days out of the sect and the Alliance is still far off, and there is no harm learning what is happening across Goju Prefecture from a man who drives it for a living. The heat has stopped mattering because the supreme clarity primordial scripture turns over inside me and leaves my head clear and my body cool. It barely costs origin chi, which is the technique's doing rather than mine. An inheritance that also handles a heat wave. I will take it. An hour in, the driver talks himself dry and gives up, wanting nothing but the next post station. Then he hauls on the reins, cursing at somebody in the road for wanting to go under the hooves. A voice asks for a ride, and he sounds surprised it is a woman and asks why she is dressed that way. She says she has money and names Seven Peaks Town, which surprises him again. Then he leans back and quietly offers 30% off my fare if we take her. I cannot be bothered to argue with a man over his own small scheme, so I tell him to take her and get us moving. He tells her to climb in and thank the young master who paid for the carriage, and she thanks him. The curtain lifts and a woman in black with a bamboo hat and a bundle sits by the window, cups her fist, apologizes for the intrusion, thanks me for being generous. Her hand never leaves her scabbard. I nod, close my eyes, and she lets it go. With a second passenger aboard, the driver finds his energy and hunts for topics. She answers a few times, then sees he has no bottom to him and stops, which deflates him. At the post stations, we sit at separate tables and board one after the other rather than together. And that is how the next 5 days go. At Seven Peaks Town, I hand him the silver I set aside and walk in. The town sits under a very large mountain. Carriages parked in rows by the marker, most of the people around them armed and dressed like the martial world. I do not waste time being clever. I pick a local at random, short and solid with a bamboo basket, and ask how to reach the Seven Peaks Alliance. He looks me over and says the mountain behind us belongs to them, so I have arrived. I ask patiently where the school itself sits, since I would like to pay a visit. He tells me to forget it, warns me they will break my legs, says he does not know anyway, and walks off. I try others and get the same every time, because the name alone makes people here afraid of saying it out loud. I had not expected the Seven Peaks Alliance to cast a shadow this long over its own neighbors. If nobody will talk, I will pick one and make him. Before I can choose a target, the woman in black warns me that asking around like that will land me in trouble. She is going up to the Seven Peaks Alliance herself, she says, and asks what business I have there. 5 paces apart, she tips her head up and under the bamboo hat is a cold, striking face, carrying the killing intent you only see on people of the martial world. It is my first real look at her, tall as I am, and I am not finished growing at close to 5 feet 9. I tell her my master sent me to deliver a letter, being tied up with nobody else to send. She studies my face and comes away with nothing, then says we can start up the mountain now and be there by morning, and asks whether I dare. She has looked at my build and the sword on my hip and decided, a scholar is a scholar, so I smile and ask her to lead the way. She brushes past without answering, and I fall in behind her. Whatever story she is telling herself about me, it keeps her walking in front, so I have no complaints. The main street runs a long way and the place is prosperous, and I pass a martial arts contest held so some family can pick a husband out of the winners. I file it away as somewhere the Clear Sky Sect could recruit one day. Past the last houses we climb into the forest, and she takes none of the usual paths, nothing underfoot but weeds, which puts me back on Tagon Mountain. Night comes down black enough that a person can barely see their own hands, so she lights a torch she prepared in advance and picks up her pace. I stay close behind her anyway. Several hours of that brings us to the crest of a hillside, where the mountains keep going, one behind the other, the night mist making them look like ancient trolls leaning over the country. She stops and tells me that once it is light, I will see the mountain gate of the Seven Peaks Alliance from here. I nod and thank her, then ask what her relationship with the Alliance is, and she asks why I want to know. I say that if she would rather not tell me, we can leave it alone, looking out at that oppressive stretch of mountain while I say it. If she will not talk, she will not talk. Even if we end up on opposite sides of this, it changes nothing I came here to do. She turns her head and asks with real curiosity why we have not met a single person from the Seven Peaks Alliance the whole way up. I tell her flatly that we are on an unpaved mountain path, so naturally we have not. Her background is obviously not simple and I have no intention of digging into it. She goes quiet, then draws, and the blade stops in front of my throat. In a low voice she tells me to explain who my master is and what my relationship with the Seven Peaks Alliance really is. I glance at the blade, bring my hand up, and flick my middle finger against it. Her sword leaves her grip and sails into the dark faster than she can respond to. She stumbles back 2 steps while it drops into the grass, the blade biting the soil and standing there shivering. She stares at me and cannot make it fit. She felt what came off that finger and there was nothing in her that could have stopped it. I tell her the letter story was there to keep her comfortable, and that pulling steel on me cancels the favor of guiding me this far so she can go back down. I say it without any expression and start up the slope. Wait for daybreak? I am finished waiting. She calls after me asking who I am and what I intend to do, and without turning, I tell her I am an enemy of the Seven Peaks Alliance, and I came here to kill. That lands on her hard. One man walking up that mountain alone, planning to cut his way through the whole school. She does not finish the thought, because I leap, and my body comes down into that enormous fog the way a wild goose settles, and she cannot see me at all. The mountain the Seven Peaks Alliance sits on is high, and the climb alone eats a piece of the night. Their mountain gate is impressive, a full 30 feet of it, and holding our own up next to this one would be embarrassing. 2 Seven Peaks Alliance disciples are propped asleep against the door pillars, and neither hears me coming. I walk up to the first and open his throat with my sword, and the blood goes out across the pillar. The noise wakes the second one, who opens his eyes, sees me and the body beside him, and goes wide. Before he can push a sound out, I am on him, hand across his mouth, the heavenly rainbow sword flat against his neck. I tell him coldly that if he does not want to die, he will cooperate, and should blink if he understands. He blinks fast. Terrified my hand will shake. I haul him upright and tell him to take me to his alliance master, because my sword gets there first if he tries anything. I shove him forward, and he stumbles. By the time he has his feet under him, there is a point against the small of his back, and the sweat comes up on him all at once. He leads. We pass no other disciple because it is already the back half of the night. The roads up here are wide, and practice grounds are laid out everywhere, and the place carries the weight of a great martial world school in a way our mountain does not yet. Half an hour on, we reach the courtyard of the first alliance master, and my guide lifts one shaking hand at a door. I swing into the back of his neck, drop him, and carry my sword toward that room. The moon pulls my shadow long across the courtyard, and by the wall I can hear the man inside breathing. My feet make no sound on the stones. The door is barred from the other side, tight enough that nothing short of force opens it. So I break the bar with one push and send the sword at the place the breathing comes from. Yuk Taidu, first alliance leader of the Seven Peaks Alliance, is asleep when the door goes. A man with a reputation that size does not sleep like ordinary people, and his eyes open the instant the bar snaps. He catches the flash of the blade, throws himself sideways and rolls, and still takes the edge across his shoulder. He is past 40 with a heavy face and hard eyes, and his side whiskers and long beard stand out from his head like something burning. That surprises me. I put that strike where it should have finished him, and he still got out from under it. Whatever this man is, he is far past Yang Zhou Yong. He roars at me for my nerve, and the internal chi in his right palm catches fire as he throws it. I jump back, bring the sword up, and pour chi into a guard. The blast takes the window, the tables, the cabinets down both walls, and the house shudders on its posts. Yuk Taidu stares, because that was everything he had, and what stands between him and his own flames is a shield of compressed air. The crushed floor tells me how far his cultivation goes, and he asks who I am in a low voice, not daring to pull his hand back, because breaking off would tear his own organs. I look up at him. My left hand goes behind my waist and comes forward, and he registers the motion far too late. 3 silver needles punch through the burning internal chi with lightning crawling along them, and go through his throat without slowing. His aura goes out like a snuff lamp, and the released force throws him into the wall and back onto the bed, which collapses in dust. I lower my hand and walk out. I pick the disciple up out of the courtyard, carry him along the rooftops a few hundred yards, then bring him around with the rejuvenating ghost immortal needle. He comes awake gasping like a man surfacing out of a nightmare. I get my hand over his mouth and tell him quietly to keep leading, because we are going to find the other alliance leaders now. His name is Chin Yo. He joined less than half a year ago, and his whole life here has been gate duty and errands, so nobody has taught him anything the school keeps to itself. In his head, Yuk Taidu is the strongest man alive, which is why he took me to that courtyard first, hoping I would get myself killed. Now the arithmetic will not come out, because if I am asking about the other leaders, then Yuk Taidu is already dead. At this distance, he sees my face clearly, and how young it is, and none of it seems real. I frown and ask whether he is stupid or deaf. That snaps him out of it and he starts blinking again, so I pick him up and put him back to work pointing. The commotion has already woken the neighbors and disciples are running toward the sound. We have gone a short way when a horn goes off across the mountain, enormous under the night sky, and people pour out of courtyards everywhere. I press Chin Yo flat and ask what that is. He swallows and says it is the Alliance's invasion horn, blown at any sign of trouble, and if it turns out to be nothing, the leaders punish nobody. But if an enemy gets inside, and the disciple on horn duty stays quiet, that man is finished. Then more horns start up from other quarters, because of course there is not just one. I underestimated them. That is why there are no night patrols on this mountain. There's a whole defensive line sitting in the dark instead, and I walked straight into it. Chin Yo whispers that with the horns going, getting near any remaining alliance leader unseen is impossible. And he says it because he is afraid I will drag him along to try. I hit him again and put him out, strip his outer robes and take his sword, and drop off the roof to keep going the way he pointed. There are more of them out now, and I pass them face to face by the dozen. 3,000 means nothing as a number until the bodies attached to it are walking past you in the dark. This is a great school of the martial world, and every disciple in it has training. While I walk, I turn over the feel of Yuk Taidu's internal chi. If I had come here before breaking into the third layer of the nourishing origin realm, killing him would have been ugly and slow, would have emptied my origin chi. Getting off this mountain afterward would not have been sure. The martial Tao is not a small thing. Yuk Taidu was one prefecture's monster, and the Great Li dynasty has other prefectures with people who would make him look ordinary. I am not going to underestimate this world again. I would still do exactly what I did. Next time I will just wait for a better opening. A school with a man like Yuk Taidu in it is not something the Clear Sky Sect can provoke, as it stands. That is why I could not sit on our mountain with the disciples confined, waiting for a full invasion on its own schedule. In their robes, nobody looks at me twice, and I make no effort to dodge anyone, because a man avoiding faces in his own school is what gets noticed. I walk briskly and openly and let them pass on both sides. Then I stop at a courtyard gate and turn my head, frowning. There is crying in there, very faint, somebody keeping it low, and not one person either, because a second set of lungs in that room is working badly. I had no intention of getting involved in anyone else's business tonight, and what I think of instead are my own junior brothers and sisters. Jang Ok-chun and Gang Jo-ha and Lee Dongwol all hid somewhere to cry when they first came up our mountain. Oh, Mana never had it in him, since as long as somebody fed him, he was content. Lee Sapung and Lee Sejium had each other from the start, so neither was ever alone with it. I stand there a moment, then go in. The courtyard is stacked with firewood and nobody is watching it. I push the door open on a room of dry firewood. Back against the pile is a child of 7 or 8, a hole in the roof letting a column of moonlight onto that spot. What matters more is the smaller child gathered in his arms, because it is the older one crying. The door startles him, and I ask straight out whether he wants to leave. He is filthy, his clothes more whole than cloth, and looking at him is much like looking at Seo Young the day I found her. He asks blankly whether he is allowed to, and I tell him that if he is willing, I will take both of them out. He is on his feet immediately, arms tight around the bundle, and the little one cannot be more than a year or two old and smells unwashed. He asks carefully who I am, since he has never seen me, but the thought of leaving the Seven Peaks Alliance has his heart going. I tell him I do not belong to them anyway, that I am leaving. That does not frighten him at all, and what he does is smile with his eyes gone wide and full. He wipes his face and says earnestly that he will come, on the condition that I take his little brother too. I nod and ask how he feels about the two of them joining my school instead, and he agrees on the spot and promises they will repay it. I wrap the younger boy in a scrap of cloth, tie him to my chest, scoop the older one up, and walk out fast. Out under the moon, the older boy gets a clear look at my face. His pupils blow wide and something lights up behind his eyes, and he will carry this moment for the rest of his life. I go up onto the roof and move light-footed toward the gate, pulling up the Tao lineage panel while I run to check my disciple count. It has gone up by 2, exactly as it should. The older brother's portrait gives his loyalty at 90 toward me and 80 toward the school, which is not bad, because the boy has a conscience. I skip his destiny and tap his brother's portrait out of habit. I regret it before the panel finishes opening, because the child is a year old and unconscious, and there is no loyalty to read. His name is Wan Ri, and his loyalty is 0 and 0, as expected. Then I read the rest, and my eyes go wide, and I stop in the middle of a roof. The panel gives him as Wan Ri, male, 1-year-old, loyalty towards sect leader and school both at 0 out of a maximum of 100. His cultivation aptitude reads extremely low, which would normally end my interest, and his comprehension ability reads extraordinary. Under Destiny, there are 3 entries: Indestructible Hegemon Body, Master's Heart, and Tenacity. The Indestructible Hegemon Body is a rare ancient physique and a great fortune of heaven and earth. And because its owner was born into common dust, it takes a special method to wake. Master's Heart gives him extreme comprehension and imagination for the Tao of combat, skill at creation, and a willingness to share what he makes. Tenacity means his will does not bend whatever he is put through. I have found a treasure. 2 of those 3 would each be worth a school on their own, and the physique is something else. I look down at the bundle on my chest and could swear the child is giving off light. The older boy notices me stare at his brother and asks nervously what is wrong with him. I put my eyes back on the roofline, start moving, and tell him it looks like the boy has wet himself. He goes scarlet, drops his head, and apologizes in a voice barely louder than a breath. I had not expected a revenge trip to hand me anything like this. Before we reach the gate, I have decided what the Clear Sky Sect's next 100 years look like. Everything goes into one Ri. I will find whatever wakes that physique and let him study whatever he wants, because a master's heart will give the school martial arts and spells nobody has written yet. Heaven does keep accounts. If I had walked past that firewood shed, I would have lost him. And worse, he would have grown up inside the Seven Peaks Alliance into somebody I could not predict or stop. The boy under my arm has decided this big brother is the most impressive person alive. There is an infant on my chest, a child on one arm, and a sword in the other, and he wants that someday. The Seven Peaks Alliance sits on a mountaintop with cliffs on every side. No light body technique gets a man across to the opposite peak, so the only way off is back out the front mountain gate. I land the 2 of them on a rooftop and stop there. The older boy follows my eyes and his dirty little face changes, the panic coming up where he cannot hide it. A few 100 feet below, disciples are massing on the training grounds and more keep arriving. The whole slope heads in torchlight and pressure. He gives up on the spot. Against that many, there is no getting out, and it looks to him like the Devil's Den has decided to keep them after all. I feel it too, and I did not think they would organize this fast or stack that many bodies in front of the gate. It is not my own strength I doubt. It is that forcing a path through gets one or both of these children killed. I start circulating instead, drawing on the spirit stone inside my robes and converting its spiritual chi into origin chi. I am not going in at less than full. The boy watches me, cannot read any of it, and decides I must be hesitating. He tells me quietly to put the 2 of them down and get out alone, and that whichever alliance master I killed, they are grateful either way. I say it sounds like he is carrying a blood feud, and once we are off this mountain I will hear the whole story. That leaves him moved and confused. and he waits. I do not need long. I settle my state, take him up, and go. My feet come down on the eaves without a sound, which startles him, and then the wind is loud and the crowd is coming up fast, and his heart is in his throat. He is bracing for me to smash through. Instead, I run out the last rooftop, drop to the ground, and walk toward the steps, like I belong here. Plenty of them look, then see my robes and stop caring, and the only thing anyone wonders is why one of their own is carrying 2 children. Down in the crowd, the second alliance master, Kwang Ram-chan, and the fourth, Seo Ja-hang, are talking. Seo Ja-hang is gaunt with his hair a mess, and he yawns and asks what the noise is. Kwang Ram-chan is about 60, a little heavy, full-bearded, and he does not know either, only that he doubts it is small, and it may be the Azure Sect again. Seo Ja-hang curses the name, because ever since the Azure Sect wanted the school's signature technique, they have not stopped coming. And he calls them lunatics with nothing above them. Kwang Ram-chan says the Azure Sect has bought its way into the High Court officials. Their arrogance has never been worse, and the two of them need to be careful. Seo Ja-hang is starting to answer when he catches what the disciples nearby are muttering. He turns, sees a man coming down the steps, with 2 children in his arms, and his whole temper goes off at once. He roars at me, demanding to know who gave me leave to put my hands on them, already moving before the sound finishes. He leaps onto the shoulders of his own disciples, runs across them, throws himself off the last one, and comes down at me through the air. His voice is enormous and the aura off him is a tiger's, and the boy under my arm shakes all over. Internal chi wraps him, he accelerates in the descent, and the palm out in front pushes a wall of force at the 3 of us. I draw with my right hand and cut upward. The sword chi goes out and its light lands on 100 upturned faces. Seo Ja-hang is in midair with nowhere to go. His palm force comes apart, and the sword chi takes him full on. His body folds backward, he throws a spray of blood, and he goes back faster than he came. The disciples underneath put their hands up on instinct, and a knot of them goes down in a heap. Kwang Ram-chan's eyes go wide, and so does everybody else's. Seo Ja-hang is an alliance master, ranked 4th on the Goju Prefecture Heavenly ranking, and nobody below that ranking beats him. They have just watched one sword strike take him apart. I am still standing in the finish of that cut. The night clouds roll and the moon keeps going in and out. I am at the top of the steps with a child on one arm and a sword in the other, my robes tearing in the wind. Several hundred Seven Peaks Alliance disciples stare up, and none of them wants to be first. Kwang Ram-chan arrives at the only conclusion available, which is top-tier expert. He recovers faster than anyone on that slope, orders them into formation, and tells them not to let me off the mountain. Then he blows a wooden whistle hard enough to carry across the night. I move down the steps at them, and the sword in my hand is still Chin Yo's, not the Heavenly Rainbow Sword. They are frightened, and there are hundreds of them, and an order from an alliance master puts the courage back. Blades come out everywhere, and the mass of them comes up the steps like water breaking uphill. I go into it swinging fast, light off the blade and blood off the blade, my feet moving me out from under one cut after another, the point going into throats without missing. The older boy has his eyes screwed shut against my shoulder. One Ri at my chest knots his little face up and still cannot wake. I kill somebody with every step and do not give back one. From above, the torrent those disciples make is being pushed back down its own hill by one man. Kwang Ram-chan does not shy away, coming through his own crowd on footwork I do not recognize, moving like something swimming, and getting around behind me. The boy on my shoulder feels the wind change and opens his eyes on Kwang Ram-chan coming in like a dragon out of a deep pool with the right palm that stinks of blood. Then he is not seeing tonight at all. He is seeing this man take his father's heart out of his chest, and the terror goes through him with nothing underneath. I turn as if I had been watching all along and cut. Lightning crawls on the blade as it comes around, and the light of it wipes the dark out of the boy's eyes. Kwang Ram-chan is startled enough that all he can do is lean away from the edge, and before he can put anything together, I plant a foot in his chest and kick him off me. He rolls several times and takes a fair number of his own people down with him. I pull my leg back half numb, because even with how far my body has come, it costs something to kick a man coming in with internal chi around him. I turn back and keep cutting my way down. Killing all of them is not the job, getting out is. The moment I turn, another mass of disciples arrives from above and starts down the steps behind me. Far off on the opposite mountaintop, the woman in black stands at the cliff edge. The heavy fog between the peaks has thinned and she can see firelight appearing inside the Seven Peaks Alliance and spreading. She had been asleep until the invasion horn woke her. She thinks about the young man from the carriage and the size of the mess he has made. It unsettles her enough that she turns and goes down the mountain, putting distance between herself and whatever that is. My borrowed sword is hacked to ruin, so I throw it away, pull the heavenly rainbow sword off my waist, and keep going. There are dozens on the ground behind me, and hundreds still in front on all sides. And for everything I have shown them tonight, I have not broken their nerve. I look down the slope, narrow my eyes, and take my right hand off the hilt. The heavenly rainbow sword hangs exactly where it is in the air in front of me. It shivers, swings around, settles with the point aimed straight down the steps, and the front rank goes blank. Then the air tears, and the sword is gone, driving forward with origin chi built into sword chi around it, and ruining everything in its line, with me right behind it. The sound of a blade going through bodies does not stop for a while, and the Supreme Sword control art opens the road, and I take it. Kwang Ramchan has a hand pressed to his chest, and has only just gotten to his feet when he sees it. He coughs and cannot stop. The blood keeps coming, and the look on his face is pure horror as he watches me come out the bottom of his own school into the night. Nobody chases. At the speed I showed them, they know they will not close the distance. So they look to Kwang Ramchan. And he says nothing, because he does not dare either. Then a disciple stumbles onto the steps, shouting that the first Alliance Master has been killed. To several hundred people who just came out of that fight, it is the last thing that could still land. Kwang Ramchan feels the sky come down, turns to look for Seo Jehang, and finds him already dead in a pool of his own blood. I carry the two children down the mountain fast, and I am not comfortable. More than half my origin chi is gone, and a long fight is the one thing I cannot afford tonight. Then a line of text opens in front of my eyes. Because I have beheaded an enemy school for the first time and withdrawn without a scratch, keeping the prestige of the Clear Sky Sect intact, I have earned a legacy reward. Morning comes down over Seven Peaks Town at the foot of the mountain. In an inn on the main street, the woman in black sits across from an old man in gray robes and cannot hide how little she wants to be there. She tells him coldly that he works fast, since she only arrived yesterday, and here he is at breakfast. The old man is past 70, age-spotted, and her tone leaves him nowhere to put himself. He sighs and asks her not to act on impulse again, because at her level, a trip up to the Seven Peaks Alliance ends one way. Something serious has happened, so anyone who provokes them now will be answered savagely. She asks what happened, already thinking about the young man from the carriage, and genuinely wanting to know what he went up there to do. The old man's face goes grave. Last night, Yuk Taedu, first alliance leader of the Seven Peaks Alliance, was killed in his own quarters, and word is another alliance leader was beaten to death trying to intercept whoever did it. All the color goes out of her face, and then it fits, because that is what the noise on the mountain was. But Yuk Taedu. How does a man kill Yuk Taedu? She remembers a finger flicking her sword out of her hand into the dark, and admits that might well be enough. What she cannot make work is the age, because he is a boy, and she wonders whether he runs some technique for holding a young face. Yuk Taedu was a supreme expert whose footsteps moved the martial world of Goju Prefecture, and he died in his own bed, inside his own school. She looks up and asks quickly who did it, and the old man says nobody knows. What is going around is that the killer had 3 heads and 6 arms, a demon god out of the old stories, and nothing on the mountain could stop him. He adds that the man carried off 2 children, and that maybe the children were the point. She rolls her eyes and asks whether he believes the part about 3 heads and 6 arms. He shrugs and says he is only repeating what the Seven Peaks Alliance says about itself. Then he turns earnest and says the Alliance is about to tear itself apart, a leadership fight inside, and every enemy it ever made circling outside. The thing she has been worrying about may dissolve without her lifting a finger. He asks why she would risk herself for it. She gives him a hard little smile and says that with Yuk Taedu dead, her worries take care of themselves, and she will go back with him today. The old man breathes out and nods. She hesitates before she gets up, then asks whether he could have someone look into who killed Yuk Taedu, since she only wants the name. He agrees, warning her the night was dark and a name will not be easy to come by. That face is in her head again. Who walks up to the Seven Peaks Alliance in the open and starts killing on their own mountain? And what could they have done to him? I put a few hundred miles between myself and that place before I stop, then go to ground in the mountains to get my origin chi back. Once I can spare it, I run the rejuvenating ghost immortal needle over little Wan Ri, while his brother comes back with flowers and fruit and water. We give it a full day before moving again, and after that we keep off the main roads and do not meet a soul. The swift wind technique carries me at a pace a carriage would beat, but not by much. When the Clear Sky Sect's mountain finally comes up in front of me, something in my chest lets go. Wan Ji is baffled. He keeps looking at the mountains stacking up ahead and cannot work out why we travel further from everything. In his experience, a martial school sits near a town so it can recruit and lean on local people. I set him straight while we walk. He is never to mention the Seven Peaks Alliance to anyone, and never to say I went. As far as the school is concerned, they are orphans who came in with the refugees, and he promises he will not make trouble. I have one Ri against my chest and a heavy bundle on my back from a town we passed yesterday. So one Gi walks behind while I describe the Clear Sky Sect. He has never heard the name, and when he learns most of the disciples are children, his posture changes. The Seven Peaks Alliance was nothing but adults, and every one of them found a reason to knock him around. Once that lifts, the questions come out of him without a break, and I answer every one. Half a day from the base of the mountain brings us to our mountain gate. 10 days since I killed Yuk Taedu. It is near dusk when I look up at our gate. Nothing next to the one I climbed in the dark. And I am still glad to see it. Out in front, a child squats in the dirt playing with rocks, and it is Lee Sapung. I call over and ask why he is slacking off again, which brings him onto his feet in a hurry. Then he turns and I laugh before I can stop it. Half a month on, the bruises are still blue and purple all over him, though the swelling is down. It is the grin that does it, because the gaps where his teeth used to be turned the whole thing into a joke. I kill the laugh fast because he took that beating for this school. He shouts for his senior brother and comes down the slope like weather, loud enough that the whole mountain hears him. Before he reaches me, Yang Joljung and Gang Joha and Seo Young come over the mountain wall and land at the gate, and the sight leaves Wang Gi with his mouth open. I pat Lee Sapung's head and ask whether he has been getting into trouble. He wraps both arms around my waist and chokes out that he was worried sick and had started thinking I did not want them anymore. More disciples come pouring out, and among them are 6 faces I do not know. The 6 children of the Jin family. I saw 6 new entries on the Dao lineage panel 2 days ago, and their aptitude was so unremarkable and their destiny so empty that I did not memorize their faces. Gang Joha drops down beside me and only breathes out once he has checked me over. Lee Sajium hugs me, delighted. And Lee Dongwal stands off to the side with her eyes wet. Yang Jiljung is quietly relieved for his own reasons, since he is the one sitting on the fact that I went to the Seven Peaks Alliance, and the pressure had nearly finished him. Gang Joha asks where I went and why it took so long, and there is real resentment in it. I smile and say I told Jang Ochin I was going to patrol the mountains and other business held me up. Then I introduce them. The boy behind me, Won Gi, the one I am carrying his younger brother, Won Ri, and from today both are disciples of the Clear Sky Sect. That works exactly as intended. Yang Joljung leans down in front of Won Gi and studies him until the poor kid does not know where to look. Seo Young proved my eye for people, so he is not the only wondering what this boy has in him. Jang Ok-chun watches me with his brows down, and Omana just giggles. I cut the whole thing off and tell them to get inside and put food on. We go up the mountain in a loud, tangled crowd, because when disciples this young start a conversation, there is no closing it. Lee Dongwol asks softly if she can carry the baby, and I hand him over without argument. Back in the courtyard, Jang Ok-chun takes Won Ji off to get washed, and Lee Dongwol and Lee Sajum take Won Ri. I sit down at the table and look at the 6 children of the Jin family standing in a row, 4 boys and 2 girls, all of them 11. Producing 6 of an age proves how well that family is doing. Under the sect leader's eyes, they have gone stiff, because Jin Gyul sent them off with instructions to behave and a promise that whoever got sent home early would regret it. So I put on the gentlest face I have and wave them over to tell me who they are, and they loosen up immediately and introduce themselves one by one. 3 of the 7 sons of the Clear Sky Sect are on the food and quick about it, and I do not wait for Wan Ji before I start eating. Yang Joljong sits nearby wanting badly to ask me something and unable to with this many people in earshot. Jang Ok-chun comes back out with Wan Ji and Lee Dongwol behind him, and the entire Clear Sky Sect is in one courtyard. 24 people all told. Nothing about it compares to what I saw on that other mountain. I am satisfied anyway, because in 10 years, every one of these people will stand on their own. Lee Dongwol sits on my other side, props her cheek on her hand, and says watching me come back up the road reminded her of Master. When Im Simpung brought Lee Sapung and Lee Sajium home, it looked exactly like this. Lee Sapung trailing behind. Jang Ok-chun and Gang Joha and Omana nod along and start trading memories, which only makes the newer disciples more curious about what kind of hero this grandmaster of theirs was. Yang Joljung is the one who answers. He says Im Simpung was chivalrous, no argument, but did very little for the Clear Sky Sect itself, and the school never once recruited its scale. So the Clear Sky sect standing here today has nothing to do with the one in those stories. I glance at him, privately pleased, because a few days out of my sight and the man has grown up. Jang Okchun picks it straight up. He says Master walked out on all of them, and from here forward, the Clear Sky sect has one sect leader. This is a new school entirely, still wearing the old name only because senior brother is sentimental. Bright moon that night, hardly any stars. I get back to my room and find it clean, proper bedding, and a pillow on the bed, which tells me the Jin family's investment has landed. I handed the money to Jang Okchin some time ago, because currency is a worldly thing and I would rather not touch it. What I keep my own hands on are the spirit stones in the underground spirit lake, which speed up cultivation. In the immortal realm, they will be hard currency the way oil was in the life before. And that lake is the real foundation of this school. I sit cross-legged on the bed and pull the Tao lineage panel up. The legacy reward I earned getting out of the Seven Peaks Alliance is still unopened, because I was not about to open anything like that in the wild. I am home now, and behind my own gate I will risk it. The panel offers the claim, opens the Tao lineage legacy, tells me I have obtained a spell called the Soul-Binding Curse, and asks whether I accept. That is not a righteous path name, which tells me something worth knowing. Namely that the Tao lineage panel has no opinion about whether I end up righteous path or demonic path. Not bad. I have never wanted to be fenced in by other people's rules about what a person may learn, and if the panel will hand me heterodox methods, then I will take them. I accept, the familiar pull comes, and I go down into the inherited memory and stay a long while. When I open my eyes, I am not surprised the way I used to be, though I frown, because this one is vicious. The soul-binding curse takes a person's soul. It works on the living, the pain while it works is not describable. And afterward, that soul belongs to whoever cast it until the caster dies. Once the victim is a ghost, it cannot refuse an order, because the leash is fixed at the soul itself. There is a price, since casting it across realms, or upward at somebody stronger, is likely to come back on the caster. I memorize the whole thing and leave it alone, because I need to take the rejuvenating ghost immortal needle further before starting anything new. I settle myself, drop into gathering chi, and the night goes by. Everyone is up early. The ones on the martial track go to train, and the ones cultivating immortality sit down to draw in the essence of sun and moon. I send one gi off to Yang Joljung for martial arts with the 6 Jin family children. From here on, the supreme clarity primordial scripture takes outstanding aptitude or real contribution, not simply being here. Once the good hours of cultivation are behind us, Jang Okchun and I go back inside to talk about where this is going, and I tell him 2 things. First, put a crew of disciples on building houses in the forest below the mountain gate, with Yang Jiljung on it since he is the only adult we have. Second, recruit 10 more disciples, anyone under 20 acceptable, because we cannot keep filling this school with small children. I say it over the tea the Jin family sent up. Good enough that I got attached in one evening. Jang Okchun grins and says he has been waiting for permission, and now there is money, it is time to stretch out. Then he asks whether we should hire a teacher, since Li Dongwol mentioned I had been thinking about one. I tell him to hire one, to run these things himself rather than doing every task personally, and to start picking disciples he can train as assistants. As the school grows, the work has to divide into real jobs. He names Huang San and Yu Rim, rough but thorough, and he will train them himself. Then I set the line. Going forward, only true disciples cultivate the Hanwan scripture, and for the moment, the only true disciple is Xiao Yang. Huang San and the other 7 may carry the title too, but martial arts come first for them. And Jang Okchun notes it down. I have a great deal more in mind about how disciples ought to be ranked, and what each rank is owed, and none of it goes in yet. You cannot promise graded treatment before you have anything to grade it with. There is no reliable income either, and that is the piece we spend the most time on, because living off the Jin family is not a plan. What Gang Joha saw down the mountain is worth taking seriously. Escort work for people and valuables, and government bounties. Eventually, the disciples can run that themselves, which trains them, pays us, and puts our name in circulation. Without a name, recruiting is a nightmare and we end up back in the villages taking whoever will come. Village children arrive unable to read no matter how good their aptitude, and teaching them martial arts costs more for it. I intend to give this school a proper reading curriculum regardless, but not for the countryside to stay the only place we can get people. We talk a solid hour and then Jang Okchun goes straight out to start on it, thoroughly pleased with himself. I sit a while longer, then collect Li Dongwol and take her into the forest behind the mountain to work on the rejuvenating ghost immortal needle. We stay at it until noon and start back toward the school. On the way, Li Dongwol reminds me quietly that I promised the Jin family a personal disciple out of their children, and the 6 of them are waiting. I nod and tell her not to worry, since Jang Okchun has already been at me about it. There is nothing to decide anyway, because Jin Gyul picked his own son before they left home. All I have to do is say it early so the other 5 can stop holding their breath. After lunch, I call Jin Yeop over and tell him to come with me. He is out of his seat instantly with his face gone red, and the other 5 are just as excited, because every one of them came up this mountain carrying their family's expectations. Once Jin Yeop is formally my disciple, I send him to Yangzhou, since his aptitude is too poor for immortal cultivation to go anywhere, and I can revisit it if he distinguishes himself later. The underground spirit lake papers over some of what a person was not born with. And with that, Yang Juljung picks up a title of his own, Martial Arts Elder of the Clear Sky Sect. Half a month goes by fast, because I have kept what I did at the Seven Peaks Alliance to myself. Gang Jo-ha still goes out to the hillside every day to train. I let him, since the Azure Sect is out there whatever the Seven Peaks Alliance is doing. One afternoon, Jang Okchun comes back with news and pulls Gang Jo-ha, Li Dongwol, Omana, Li Sapung, and Li Sejum into my room. To hear it, he announces, delighted, that the Seven Peaks Alliance has been gutted. First Alliance leader Yuk Taedu is dead, and the whole school is in chaos. That explains why nobody has come to bother us, I ask. All innocence. Where exactly he picked that up, because it is his 3rd time down the mountain in half a month. He says he ran into bandits working a road, took Hwang-san and Murim in on them, and made a few friends out of it. Those friends told him about the thing currently shaking all of Goju Prefecture. Li Sapung's eyes go enormous, and he asks his great senior brother straight out whether it was him. Every other face in the room turns to me at once, nervous and hopeful in equal measure, because I was off this mountain for half a month not long ago. I roll my eyes and ask where he thinks I would get that kind of ability. Then tell him to ask 3rd junior brother whether the Seven Peaks Alliance is that easy to handle. Gang Jo-ha backs me up, saying that killing the strongest man in the Seven Peaks Alliance inside his own school is a different problem from beating him in a duel. Everybody remembers what shape Gang Jo-ha came back in, and that settles it. Li Sapung is off and running now, on his feet acting out how terrifying those Seven Peaks Alliance experts were. Gang Jo-ha is not watching the performance. He is watching me with a complicated expression, and it makes me feel like a liar, which I am. I cannot sit under that look, so I cough over Li Sapung's show and shut it down. I tell them the Seven Peaks Alliance is unlikely to come at us soon, and that this is not permission to relax. Nobody idles from here on, and it is train or go help build the school. The expansion is already underway and the older boys of the 2nd generation are carrying it. Every one of my junior brothers and sisters has a job on it now, except Li Sejum. Jang Okchun hangs back after everyone clears out and takes me aside. He has hired a teacher from the foot of the mountain, a man who claims to be an expert in physiognomy and the 8 trigrams, and is insisting on meeting me. I ask whether money changed hands, and it did, and the man announced he would decide how much effort to put in after a look at my face. That gets me curious, so I tell him fine and we walk out together. The moment I am through the door, I see him, a scholar in white robe standing behind 2 disciples watching them do woodwork. He looks somewhere in his 20s or 30s, a book box on his back, elegant enough that nobody would mistake him for anything but an educated man. Jang Okchun calls to teacher Jang that his great senior brother has arrived, and the scholar, whose name is Jang Wu, comes at us. His eyes fix on me and light right up as the gap closes. He does not wait for me to speak. He steps in and takes my hand in both of his. I start to pull back, then notice there is not a trace of internal chi in the man. And let him have it, he tells me, delighted, that Sect Master Li has a face that is not simple at all, that I was born into a family of emperors and generals. My childhood was hard, he says, but my destiny extraordinary. With the purple star riding high over me, he says, I will one day be a true dragon. He delivers it about 2 seconds from dropping to his knees. Con artist, silver tongue. I hand him both tags on the spot, because that was nonsense start to finish. My birth father was not remotely that important. I take my hand back calmly, thank him for the kind words, and ask where he studied physiognomy. He collects himself, steps back, salutes properly, and says his master was the old man of the 9 pulses. It is a name I have probably not heard, since the old man lives in seclusion and has been alive 130 years, meaning to spend what remains in peace. I do not press any of it and ask instead whether teaching an entire school by himself will be too much. He says there is no pressure at all, that my school may be small but there are dragons hidden in it and tigers crouching in it, The place already looks like something about to leave the ground. He is willing to devote himself to the Clear Sky Sect, though if the sect leader could see his way to another 30 copper coins a month, better still. He delivers it clearly, in a voice with real carry, sounding exactly like a man of talent and virtue. I let him have the raise, temporary until I see what his teaching is worth. If it is worth nothing, I will run him off the mountain and be out very little. At dinner, I announced that classes start tomorrow on the ground we cleared below the mountain gate, that every disciple attends, and that nobody is skipping. The next morning, once training is done, the entire school walks down to listen except me. Even Yang Jiljung goes, because he wants to know whether this man has anything real in him, and thinks the asking price was outrageous. Ever since I made him martial arts elder, he looks at every expense from the school side of the ledger, which is what I wanted out of the title. At noon, I come back to the courtyard and get the reviews from my junior brothers and sisters, and to my surprise, they think Zhang Wu is excellent and say he makes it interesting. Even Yang Jiljung concedes the man is genuinely learned, which settles my nerves about the money. It does not matter how good a teacher is, because sooner or later students get bored, and that is a law of nature. A month goes by. I bring Seo Young back up the mountain after a day at the Spirit Lake. She has just broken into the second layer of the nourishing origin realm, so her small face is lit up and she has given up hiding the smile. Coming into the clearing below the gate, I find Zhang Wu teaching 5 disciples. He is telling them how pleased he is with their appetite for learning. He warns them not to take after that brat Li Seipeng, who will get himself in trouble with that temper one of these days. There is real feeling behind the way he says the name. I hear it from a distance and know exactly what it means, which is that Li Seipeng pulled something on him again. The two got comfortable fast, and Li Seipeng's favorite hobby is winding the teacher up and reminding him he cannot fight. Which is true, because Zhang Wu does not practice martial arts. His master, the old man of the 9 pulses, ruled that a man who has learned the heaven-stealing art does not train in martial arts, and he has kept to it all his life. I catch Seyoung's eye. She reads it immediately, and the two of us slip quietly past behind Zhang Wu's back. He spots us anyway out of the corner of his eye, goes wide-eyed, and calls out that the sect leader has something he urgently needs to discuss. I pretend I have heard nothing and go up the steps at speed with Seo Young behind me, master and disciple through the gate one after the other, without breaking stride. Behind us, he lowers his hand, deflated, and cannot even swear about it with his students sitting right there. I walk into the courtyard and find Li Dongwol under the tree with Wan Ri in her arms, and Wan Gi making faces at the baby. Off in the corner, 2 of the girls are sewing, and when they see me, they get up and salute, which is Zhang Wu's doing. He decided our rules were too loose and argued that bowing fixes rank and place, and that juniors who never salute get slack about everything else. I do not agree, but Zhang Oakchun did, and so did Gang Zhouha and Yang Zhuojiang. So the etiquette is taught, and I have let it go. I nod to them and am halfway to Li Dongwol when Zhang Oakchun comes out of the next room and cuts me off, dead serious, saying he needs to borrow somebody. I ask who, and he says 3rd junior brother. He went down the mountain to recruit and came back empty. What he found was a martial world expert with a standing offer that anyone who beats him gets 1 request granted, up to working as his beast of burden for life. Zhang Oakchun wants Gang Zhouha to take that bet, and the problem is that Gang Zhouha will not leave the mountain, still braced for the 7 Peaks Alliance, or the Azure Sect. I ask whether he is sure the man is any good, and he is certain. The man has lived in a forest at the edge of the Taegon mountain range for years, behaving strangely, and Zhang Oakchun tested him a few days ago and could not put him down. He came back at a run because he is afraid the man will wander off or somebody else will claim him first. He is genuinely anxious about this. Outside the villages at the foot of our mountain, he cannot recruit anywhere because people hear the name Clear Sky Sect and assume it has no future. It does not help that he is a boy himself, and nobody takes him seriously across a table. Meanwhile, the school has more work every week, and a labor force made mostly of children. I think it over briefly. That Zhang Oakchun challenged this man, lost, and walked away in one piece tells me he is not a killer, so sending Gang Zhouha into it costs us nothing. And Zhang Oakchun has been running himself ragged for weeks, so he can have this one. I tell him to go ahead, and to tell 3rd junior brother the sect leader agreed. He is thrilled, thanks me twice, and is gone. That is all it takes, because Gang Zhouha will believe him without checking, and there is nothing false between those two. Zhang Oakchun would not lie to him, and he never issues an order in my name until I have said the words. I come over to Li Dongwol and tell her, smiling, to take very good care of this one, because I have a feeling he will be the pride of the school. She smiles back and says gently that outstanding or not, she will take good care of him regardless. Then Wan Gi asks me, with everything he has, whether that means I would take his brother as my personal disciple. He has been drifting away from me since we got here, having worked out on his own that my recognition is not cheap and that he has shown nothing special in martial arts. There have been nights where that sat on him hard. I tell him yes. When the boy is old enough to read, I will take him as my disciple. Wan Ji is so happy he drops straight to his knees to thank me. Lee Dongwoo notices I do not stop him and it surprises her privately, and she wonders whether little Wan Ri's aptitude is more than it looks. Seo Young already proved my judgment in front of everyone, and I have taken almost nobody personally, so the standard is obviously not loose. I tell him to get up and not to spend all his attention on his brother, because he has his own martial arts to build. Aptitude is only half of it, and the effort a man puts in afterward is the other half. He stands and gives me a solemn little nod. I talk with Lee Dongwoo a while longer and then go back to my room worn out, most likely from how much origin chi the rejuvenating ghost immortal needle has been eating. Cultivators can skip sleep, but only when nothing is drawing them down, and personally, I do not mind a night of dreams now and then. I sleep hard, and what wakes me is noise. The window is already dark when I open my eyes, and my first thought is that nobody came to get me for dinner. I roll off the bed and hear somebody outside the courtyard begging for mercy with a number of disciples shouting at him, which means outsiders. I head for the door. Out by the courtyard gate, better than a dozen disciples are packed in a ring. Kneeling in the middle is a young man in black, beaten until his face is swollen, crying openly with his hands pressed together. In front of him is Seo Young, her small face extremely serious. Jang Okchun and Gang Joha left with dry rations days ago, so nobody senior is here to break the crowd up. And with that many children, the volume is considerable. Yang Joljung comes over the courtyard wall, takes a position behind the disciples, looks hard at the man on the ground, and makes a startled sound. He asks Jung Chang-hae what on earth he is doing here. The man in black looks up, and what is on his face is not surprise but shame and fury, and then he puts his head down, and would happily disappear into the dirt. I come out of my room as Lee Dongwoo arrives carrying little Wan Ri. We look at each other and she shakes her head, so she knows no more than I do. I walk over and ask what all the shouting is about. The disciples get out of the way fast and salute, and Jiang Wu, at the edge of it, nods in deep satisfaction. Jin Yeop speaks first and tells his master that this man snuck into the school to steal and got caught by senior sister, meaning Seo Young. She is younger than he is, but she took me as her master before he did, and she can fight, and Jin Yeop admires her without reservation. Stealing I can believe, because the Clear Sky Sect is not the empty shell it was a year ago, and there are things here worth taking. I walk up and look the man over, and he says quickly that he was only hungry and wanted something to eat. Seong is not having it and snaps that a whole roast chicken is not something. He also took 2 jars of wine, both smashed on the ground, and that this is not finished. My face goes flat at that. The school has money now, but there are a great many mouths on this mountain, and a whole roast chicken is a luxury we do not see often. He promises to pay, asks for a chance, and swears that in 5 days at the outside he will bring money to cover it. Then he twists around to Yang Joljung, calls him the dragon-subduing hero, and asks him to speak up, on the grounds that Yang Joljung knows what his word is worth. Yang Joljung is still furious about the wine, and does him no favors, asking why he would speak up when he is embarrassed to admit he knows the man. He points out that the king of thieves is supposed to rob the ill-gotten wealth of the rich and powerful, not climb our mountain for a chicken and 2 jars of wine. Then he lands the real one, that stealing is one thing but getting caught by a child ought to be beyond bearing. That is the sentence that breaks Jung Chang-hae. He wails that Yang Joljung should look again, because that is no child but a demon in a small body, and Yang Joljung himself would not beat her either. Yang Joljung goes red at the suggestion. He is not a match for Seo Young. He watched that girl walk up this mountain, and in no time at all she has gone past 20 years of his own hard work. Then his eyes drift across her profile without him meaning it to, and something turns over in his chest that he has no name for. Rattled, he starts arguing with Jung Chang-hae in earnest, and Jung Chang-hae, terrified 2 minutes ago, gets his blood up and climbs to his feet to make a fight of it. So Young looks at him. He goes back down on his knees. I call it off, telling them there is no profit in beating the man to death, and they should be thinking about how he makes it up to us. Stealing is contemptible, but what he took was food, and nobody dies over that. Yang Joljung glares once more and gives me the background. The man is Jung Chang-hae. His light body skill has no equal, and the martial world calls him the King of Thieves. He once walked into the prefectural governor's mansion, took a treasure, sold it to another powerful family, and spent the money on disaster relief, which by Yang Joljung's accounting makes him a good man. His word is famous too, because whatever he promises, he delivers. Yang Joljung admires him, and it shows. Morals being what they are, there are not many left in the martial world who carry themselves like that. I asked Zhang Changhe why he came to the Clear Sky Sect. The authorities have been hunting him, and the newly appointed magistrate of Huxiao County can fight, cares about the common people, and has fixed on catching the King of Thieves. He was driven into the Taegon mountain range and was starving by the time he got here, which is how a man of his reputation ends up on a roof over a chicken. I do not accept that. I tell him the world is large and ask why it had to be here, and I let my voice go sharp. His expression flickers, he grinds his teeth, and he gives it up. Next spring, the Crown Prince is coming to the Taegon mountain range to hunt. He came ahead of time to prepare, because what he intends to steal is the Taepyeong sword the Crown Prince wears. Yang Jiljung's eyes go wide and he swears at him for the sheer nerve of it. The second that sword goes missing, the Imperial Court pours troops into this mountain range to comb it, and the Clear Sky Sect gets dragged in whether we touch the thing or not. Every disciple standing there looks at Zhang Changhe differently now. Jiang Wu cannot keep out of it either. He says the Taepyeong sword was given by a master hand when the late emperor pacified the realm and ranks second among the 10 great famous swords of the world. Stealing it would set off a storm of blood across the country. Zhang Changhe takes that as a compliment. He says that is the point exactly, that pulling it off would put the name King of Thieves somewhere it has never been. He wants to slap the royal family across the face, because they will not stop congratulating themselves on this peaceful and prosperous age. As for dragging us in, he assumed the Clear Sky Sect had folded after Im Sempung quit, and he only came up looking for somewhere to sleep, and then somebody was roasting a chicken. He says it smelled incredible and he wanted it so badly he could not think, and by the end of that sentence he is swallowing hard again. The beating seems to have made him hungrier. I turn to Yang Jiljung and ask him to confirm what he said about the light body skill. He gets his temper under control, nods, and says that across the whole martial world of Goju Prefecture, there are very few better, which is when it hits him, and he turns to look at Seo Yang, because how did she catch this man? Zhang Changhe sees where his eyes went, and jumps in to say that if he had not been starving, he never would have been caught. Then he adds, less confidently, that her light body skill is very impressive. Seo Yang is at the second layer of the nourishing origin realm and has been running the swift wind technique a long time. Moving fast through these forests is simply what she does. I make my decision and tell him plainly. His punishment is 1 year inside the Clear Sky Sect teaching my disciples light body skill, and that year buys off what he did. While he is here, he will not go hungry, and if he will not agree, we hand him to Huxiao County. His face changes, and he asks whether the term could be shorter, since he is afraid of missing his grand plan. I ask how many people just heard him describe that plan out loud, and tell him not to waste the effort. Then I tell him to hurry, because I am still waiting to eat. He runs through several expressions with the whole school watching, and in the end he nods. I clap my hands, call for food, and walk to the long table. The disciples scatter and Zhang Changhe kneels by himself in an empty courtyard, confused, because he did not expect the Clear Sky Sect to be this blunt, or to trust him afterward. He scrambles up and heads for Yang Jiljung, since none of this matches what he had heard. Once the food is out, he plants himself next to Yang Jiljung and eats our dinner without a shred of embarrassment. The table is quiet, so Jiang Wu smiles and suggests the King of Thieves tell us about his exploits, so everyone gets to know him. Every head turns. Zhang Changhe glances at me first, and when I do not object, he drains his bowl of wine and starts talking. He begins with the year he started learning martial arts. He was born in the first year of the dynasty's founding, a violent year. His family was caught up in it, and the emperor ordered his whole clan put to death. His father found a gap and got him out. The soldiers found him anyway, and they ran him until he stood at the edge of a cliff. So he made up his mind and jumped. His voice rises and falls, and he has the entire courtyard by the second minute, and I will admit he has me as well. Dinner runs a full hour that night. The disciples up here have never had a storyteller, and afterward none of them can settle down and all want to know what happens next. Whether a word of it is true does not concern me. They are enjoying themselves, so I leave it alone. I put him in Yang Jiljung's room for the night. Later I hear fighting through the wall over there, and then it stops. In the morning, the disciples notice the damage to Zhang Changhe's face has gotten worse, and when they ask, he says it is nothing. Stealing that chicken was a low thing to do, and his stories about chivalry win the disciples over anyway. And within days, he is folded into the school. He still takes the long way around whenever he sees Seo Young coming. Like Jiang Wu and Yang Zhouzhang before him, the longer he stays, the less he understands this place. Oh, Mana's raw strength makes him feel he has walked in on a monster. The one he cannot get over is Li Sapeng, about to turn 13 and able to genuinely race him. Zheng Chenghe won, and the margin was not comfortable. He starts asking how one small school has this many prodigies, then corrects himself, because that cannot be it. The Clear Sky Sect must be sitting on a legacy of techniques nobody outside has ever heard of. 7 days later, Jang Okchun and Gang Joha come home. I get word and head back to the courtyard, and Gang Joha sees me. He holds up 3 fingers, gives me a smug little smile, and goes off to change into new school robes. 3rd layer of the Nourishing Origin Realm. He caught me again, and every scrap of advantage I bought by cheating is gone. One more time. I complain about it privately and am pleased anyway, because the Clear Sky Sect just got stronger. Jang Okchun comes over and points out an old beggar standing a little way off, telling me that is the expert, Oh Boy You. He also tells me something Gang Joha asked him to keep quiet. Gang Joha challenged Senior O once and lost. Cultivated in seclusion. 2 days went back, and only then won. That raises my eyebrows, because Gang Joha at the 2nd layer of the Nourishing Origin Realm was beaten. This Oh Boy You is no ordinary old man. I read the internal chi inside him and feel a 2nd Yuktedu standing in my courtyard. I laugh softly and tell Jang Okchun to handle the man himself, since he found him. Jang Okchun is off this mountain constantly, and having something like that at his shoulder would let me sleep better. He is overjoyed, and thanks me, and I clap him on the shoulder and walk over to make introductions. It does not go anywhere. Oh Boy You is cold, distant, and completely uninterested in me, and I am not chasing a man for his attention. So after a few awkward exchanges, I leave him to it. I have a rejuvenating ghost immortal needle to get back to anyway. Summer burns out, autumn comes in, and the mountain turns every color it has. Below the mountain gate, at the bottom of 100 feet of new stone steps, there is a courtyard with 5 rooms around a plain practice yard, where the disciples spar most days. It has been a month since Oh Boy You joined us, and Jang Okchun has brought 4 more disciples up in that time. That afternoon, I sit out in front of the mountain gate turning over the little knife Gang Guaqian gave me last year. Yang Zhuliang sits down next to me, and his eyes go past me down to Oh Boy You, standing in the lower courtyard watching the sparring. In our robes, the old man looks like a grandmaster and nothing else. His frame is gaunt, and his back bends, and none of that matters because he can stand with his hands behind him and still tell you plainly he is not somebody you handle casually. He is 50 this year. His hair gone gray, his eyes not softened at all, and being looked at by him is its own pressure. Yang Zhuliang says quietly that the senior called Oh Boy You is not simple and is very likely a top-tier expert. Even cultivating the Hanwan scripture to the 1st layer of the Nourishing Origin Realm, he would not back himself in a fight. He admits meeting Oh Boy Yu's eyes makes his skin crawl, so these days, he tries not to. The old man barely talks. Every so often he corrects a young disciple in a sentence or two, and the disciple walks away understanding something they were stuck on for weeks. Quietly, the whole school has decided he is worth listening to. I look up and tell Yang Zhuliang he is right that the man is not simple, and ask whether that is not a good thing. Then I ask how many people in the Azure Sect could handle somebody like that, and he answers seriously. For the Azure Sect to have its reach there have to be top-tier experts in it, most likely their sect leader. He tells me to stay wary of Oh Boy You anyway, because the whole thing smells wrong. A man does not sit in a forest at the edge of the Taegon mountain range for years waiting for challengers, because he feels like it. He suspects Oh Boy You came here for the Clear Sky Sect specifically. Perhaps not for my master, but for my master's master. He says it with his face set, because what he fears is that I trust too easily. I nod a little and let it sit. Oh Boy You's loyalty was not impressive when he arrived, but it cleared 60, so I have felt no need to interfere. The panel gives him no special destiny, and he is a top-tier martial artist with entirely ordinary aptitude for cultivation. So I drop him as a subject and tell Yang Zhuliang I would rather talk about him. I let my face and voice go serious and ask whether he really means to stay with the Clear Sky Sect for the long haul. That stops him, and he asks what I am getting at and whether I am trying to run him off the mountain. I shake my head and tell him the truth. He joined us because he was badly hurt and we picked him up, never something he chose. His injuries are healed, and he is stronger than before, So whatever he wanted from his life is available again. He frowns and pushes back, asking whether I am really willing to let him walk away after teaching him my own school's technique. I tell him he has taught our disciples a great deal in return, including handing his inherited palm technique to Omana. Nobody here owes anybody. After this long under one roof, I would call us friends, and wanting a friend to have a better life is not complicated. I say it calmly and let my eyes go back down to the yard. He goes quiet, and I do not push him. I watch the sparring instead and find myself nodding, because the martial track disciples are coming along well. And another 10 years of this and every one of them stands on their own. The plan has not changed. The Clear Sky Sect becomes the first school of the martial world, and only then do I announce what it is turning into. Until that day, I quietly pull the highest talent and contribution out of the ranks and make cultivators of them a few at a time, which takes years. We are all young, so years are what we are not short of. Yang Joljong takes a long breath and answers that if he went down the mountain, he would only drift. For all that people call him the dragon-subduing hero, he can help exactly the person in front of him, and nobody else. And half the time he leaves that person worse off later. He would rather stay and watch this school grow from a seedling into something enormous. And if the Clear Sky Sect ever becomes a great school on the scale of the Seven Peaks Alliance, he will finally help people at a scale that matters. There is old feeling under all of that. Whatever his story is, he is not telling it today. I pull up the Tao lineage panel and check him, and both loyalty numbers have broken 90. Loyalty is not a thing that only ever climbs, so a rise like that means the man has genuinely started thinking of this place as his. I stand, look down at him, and say that if he has decided to stay, we may as well go all the way, because we need hands everywhere. Then I give him the goal. I want the Clear Sky Sect to cover the entire Taegon mountain range, disciple quarters and training grounds over every mountain in it. He gets up too and says helplessly that the Taegon mountain range is enormous. No sect has ever been that size, and governing a fraction of it is the realistic ceiling. He has understood exactly what I said, because a school that large would have a terrifying number of disciples, and an army would struggle to use that much ground as a training field. If I pulled it off, the Clear Sky Sect would shake the foundations of the Great Li dynasty. Completely impractical. He notices that it still sounds thrilling. I wave it off and say it is only a goal to aim at. His eyes harden and he tells me seriously that he will walk toward it with me. I smile and say we will see, then head into the sect, because the woods behind the mountain are waiting and so is my practice. He watches me go until the bend in the mountain road takes me, then mutters that the little brat is working him, the corner of his mouth going up. He does not mind my small tricks, and my ambition has him more interested than he wants to admit. With the disciple count up, I can finally carve real time out for cultivation. Aside from me, the only two with that privilege are Gang Joha and Omana, and even Seo Yang has chores. The autumn deepens and the air over the mountains starts to bite, and another month goes. One afternoon, I stand on a hillside over the fields, where Jang Ok-chun and the 7 sons of the Clear Sky Sect are behind 2 farmers learning to plow. The farmers are the fathers of 2 of our disciples, up from the village at Jang Ok-chun's invitation. Because the Clear Sky Sect is opening its own farmland, the plot sits halfway up the mountain, half an hour from the gate. Close enough. Jang Ok-chun has dug a fish pond as well, though getting fry up a mountain in quantity is not simple, so those come in loads. Beyond the fields and the pond, there is a horse pasture now too. The 7 Peaks Alliance brought a great many horses when they came for us, and Yang Joljong recovered a good number afterward. Even now you can meet a stray in the forest. On top of that, I push the disciples to keep animals and hunt. So martial arts is not the only thing they know. Every month I send Jang Ok-chun down for a master of a different trade. A cry comes down out of the sky. I put my arm out, a small black eagle drops onto it, and I start playing with him. The nest Jang Ok-chun carried home had 3 chicks and 2 eggs. 2 chicks have gone off and this one stayed, and the eggs hatched into birds that cannot fly yet. My theory about why this one stayed is the origin chi I have been feeding him. What I am really doing is finding out whether a bird can be raised into a monster pet this way. And so far, it looks possible. I ask him out loud when he plans on understanding human speech. I like him more every time I look at him. And riding this bird through the sky one day would be worth everything it cost. So I stand there holding the eagle up and watching other people work, and I notice something about myself. Compared to fighting and killing, I prefer this. Quiet and unhurried, my own school getting larger under my hands. Nothing else has felt like this. Somebody starts yelling for his senior brother, the eagle has gone off my arm, and I turn around frowning. It is Lee Sepeng, coming fast with a bamboo basket on his back, running the swift wind technique flat out and throwing dust the whole way. He stops in front of me, hands on his knees, breathing hard. I tell him off, since he is a teacher himself now, and ask whether he could manage some dignity instead of tearing around like this. He looks up and says men from the government office are coming up the mountain, straight for the Clear Sky Sect. I tell him to go tell Jung Chung-hae to hide. He has gone up the slope like a small storm. It occurs to me watching him go that every time that boy comes running at me he is carrying bad news. I let it go and stay where I am, watching Jang Ok-chun and the others work the field. The Clear Sky Sect as it stands can absorb a certain amount of trouble. About half an hour later, right as I am thinking of leaving, a group comes out of the forest on the far side. The man in front wears a fitted official robe and hat, with a sword at his waist, heavy brows and a stare like a lamp. He looks Jang Ok-chun and the farmers over as he comes. Behind him are 9 government runners in matching uniforms, also armed. He brings them straight to me and introduces himself as Peng Dae, County Magistrate of Huxiok County, here on the matter of the King of Thieves, Jung Chung-hae. Then he asks who I am in the Clear Sky Sect. My robes are cut differently and carry more weight, and they passed several of our people on the way up, so he can tell I am not a rank-and-file boy. I smile and tell him, my name is Lee Chung-chu, sect leader of the Clear Sky Sect. I have never heard of any King of Thieves, and if the county magistrate doubts me, he is welcome to search the place, because we will cooperate completely. Sect leader. He is thrown, and the government runners glance at each other, because I am 17 and do not look like the head of anything. He cannot help asking whether my master Im Simpung really did retire from the martial world. He does not run in those circles, but a county office holds a lot of martial world men in its cells, so he picks things up. I put on a bitter face and tell him retirement is a generous word for it, because the man got obsessed and went off chasing immortality. I am left leading my junior brothers and sisters, none of us properly fed or clothed, which is why we have had to find our own way. Then, I ask where else he has seen a martial school farming its own food. I sell it thoroughly enough that the man actually feels sorry for me. He says he understands, that they will have a look, and that they will try not to make trouble. Then, he heads for the mountain, and I do not stop him. I walk downhill to find somewhere to cultivate, because on days I am not going to the underground spirit lake I can work anywhere, and so can everyone else. Near dusk, Jang Ok-chun and the 7 sons of the Clear Sky Sect and I bring the 2 farmers up, to feed them properly as thanks and put them up for the night. We come through the mountain gate and there is a crowd of disciples jammed in front of the courtyard gate. Something has happened. I raise an eyebrow and do not walk faster, because a sect leader who runs at every commotion is not one for long. Jang Ok-chun has no such discipline and goes straight up the middle, calling for everyone to make room. They turn, see me coming and start bowing in waves. As they open up, I get a look at the middle of the courtyard where Peng Dae sits cross-legged circulating his chi. All 9 government runners are ringed around him, eyes moving over our disciples like they expect a knife. Jin Yop spots me and shouts at the top of his lungs that Master has arrived, and every head in the yard turns. I walk in without hurrying and let my eyes go around the place. Yang Jiljong is here, so is Oh Boy Yu, so is Jang Wu, and Jung Chung-hae is nowhere on the property. Jang Ok-chun gets in front of me and asks what has gone on here. Lee Sapung, squatting up on the eaves, grins down and explains that this fellow did not know his own limits, insisted on challenging Grandpa, and got badly hurt, in a single exchange. His people then decided it was our fault and started talking about hauling us all down to the county office. I look over at Oh Boy Yu, splitting firewood, my arrival not slowing him at all. Yang Jiljong is off to the side wearing an expression of pure enjoyment, and Jang Wu is frowning hard at the old man in a way I cannot read. I walk up to the wall of government runners and ask, all concerned, whether County Magistrate Peng is all right, mentioning that I know a little medicine. His face is gray. He opens his eyes at my voice, tips his head to look at me, and says through his teeth that sect leader Lee has been deceived. The man is a protector of the demonic sect who cut his way through the martial world 20 years ago, and nothing in him is not evil. The title he uses is Northern Expulsion Guardian, and it catches me off guard, because nothing like that would show up on the Dao lineage panel. So I ask which demonic sect he means, and whether he is talking about the Azure sect. He glares and says the Azure sect does plenty of evil and is still not in the same world as the demonic sect. Then, in case we are not taking it seriously enough, he lays the whole record out. Oh Boyu, Northern Expulsion Guardian of the demonic sect. In the 3rd year of the Gaiwan era, he wiped out the Hyo clan of Bukniang, 136 people, from elders in their 80s down to babies in swaddling. That same year, he went into chi deviation, beat one of his own disciples to death, and hung the body from the city gate of the prefectural government, a provocation aimed at the imperial court. In the fourth year of the Gamyong era, he led men against a relief shipment bound south and killed 73 soldiers and officials, and 100,000 people starved for it. He finishes by saying the crimes are past forgiving and I must not shelter this man. Every disciple in the courtyard is looking at Oh Boy Yu differently now. He barely speaks, and he has never once looked like that. Jang Okchun had no idea either, and what goes through his head first is not the crimes, but the exposure. Sheltering a wanted criminal of that grade is not a small charge to hang over a school. Oh Boy Yu stops chopping and asks Peng Day how he came by all of this. Peng Day answers low and steady that he read it in the case files at the prefectural governor's mansion. The man surfaced inside Goju Prefecture a few years back and made noise, and Peng Day decided that once he had his post, he would bring him in. So he committed the details to memory. There is a blood-red wolf's head mark on Oh Boy Yu's left wrist, and he asks whether the man intends to deny who he is. The 9 government runners did not know any of this an hour ago, and now they are pale and braced for the old man to go off. Oh Boy Yu says, with nothing in his face at all, that his surname is actually Hyo. Peng Day's brows come down and he demands to know what that is supposed to mean. So Oh Boy Yu tells it. The Hyo clan that was wiped out was his family, and he is the only one left, because that year he was serving as an imperial guard in the palace. Afterward, the crown prince planted him inside the demonic sect as an agent, when the court did not even have the Northern Expulsion Guardian's real name. He clawed his way upward for years, killed the Northern Expulsion Guardian with his own hands, and took the man's place. Then the crown prince lost his position, nobody was left with the authority to give him his name back, and every crime the original committed got written under his. As for the relief shipment, he says it was never going to the southern border. It was escorted by order of the current emperor to a demonic Taoist down there, in exchange for the elixir of immortality. He took it and handed it out to ordinary people, and the disaster was too large, because the food that little wealth could buy was never turning it around. He delivers the whole account flatly, like a man describing weather in a province he has never visited. Peng Day's face works and he snaps that it is ridiculous. The rest of the Clear Sky sect is having its own trouble with it, because a reversal that size does not happen in real life. Oh Boy Yu tells him to go and check whether the Hyo clan's records were erased. If they were not, look up whether the second young master of the Hyo clan, a man named Hyoji, was ever posted to the palace as an imperial guard. Then compare that man's age with his own. Peng Day opens his mouth and finds nothing in it. Yang Jiljung speaks up out of nowhere and says he believes the man. The current emperor's hunt for immortality stopped being a secret years ago, and strange people are brought into that palace every year. The reason Goju Prefecture is in open revolt is that the throne cares about immortality and has stopped governing. Zhang Wu adds that County Magistrate Peng strikes him as an upright man with a real hatred of wrongdoing, and asks why not go back and investigate. If Senior O's account holds up, the County Magistrate would be the man who cleared a hero's name. I do not say a word. I stand there and let all of them talk. Oh Boy Yu makes a dismissive sound and says there is no name left to clear. The Hyo clan does not exist. His surname is Oh now, and he has no children and nothing he is holding on to. He asks only that once County Magistrate Peng has checked and found it true, he forget Oh Boy Yu exists and leave the Clear Sky sect out of it. These children know nothing of his history, and all he wants is somewhere to finish his life. Peng Day looks around the courtyard without meaning to. Every disciple here is watching him, the overwhelming majority small children, and he cannot stomach it. He understands the arithmetic, because if this gets out, the Imperial Court liquidates the Clear Sky sect, since there are officials who will not care. The more accomplices they attach to Oh Boy Yu, the larger their own credit gets. He gets it out through his teeth. He will go back and investigate first, and he will not wrong an innocent man. He is on his feet immediately with 2 runners helping him, and he gives the order to move. The whole group is very relieved, and they start walking him toward the courtyard gate. Then Oh Boy Yu says there is one more thing he has to tell them. He asks whether they know why the demonic sect came out of nowhere, tore the martial world apart in a very short span of years, and vanished just as fast. They turn back with no idea what he is talking about. His eyes go cold, and he tells them the demonic sect was built by the current emperor, killed more people than anything since the dynasty's founding, and belonged to the throne the entire time. Then he closes it, believing it is beside the point now, because the day he is caught he need only tell his captors these men knew. The people above will have every one of them killed, to keep it quiet. Peng Day glares. genuinely not expecting that from a man he was starting to feel sorry for. And the 9 runners go white. I am doing something else entirely, smiling to myself, because I have suddenly decided I like this old man. Right up until he opened his mouth, I have been weighing whether to let Peng De and his people off this mountain at all. Hearts are hard to read, and I do not like loose ends walking around with my school's name in their mouths. He solved it without being asked. Oh, Boyu goes back to his firewood as though none of them are there. Peng De takes a long breath and signals his men to get him out. I say nothing and walk toward my own house, and Jiang Okchun claps his hands to break the crowd up. Li Sepeng stays crouched on the eaves, watching the government runners go down the mountain. The mood is still flat by the time dinner starts. Yang Jiuzhong coughs and breaks it by saying that in the martial world you meet this trouble sooner or later, and expecting a whole life undisturbed is not realistic. Jiang Wu shovels in a mouthful of rice and tells everyone not to worry, because that group will not dare anything reckless. Even if they report Senior O's whereabouts, the credit may not land on them. The moment he bites back, they are dead men, possibly with their families, because the matter goes up to the throne. Li Seijium cannot hold her questions. She asks whether the emperor is really the head of the demonic sect, how powerful that sect actually was, and whether there is genuinely such a thing as an elixir of immortality. Once she starts, every disciple at the table opens up and the questions come faster than anyone can answer. Eventually, Yang Jiuzhong gives in and starts telling strange tales out of the martial world. What they want most is the elixir of immortality. Naturally, because nobody has ever not wanted that. Yang Jiuzhong shakes his head and says stories about immortality have been turning up since the beginning of time, and nobody has ever produced a person who does not die. The only thing keeping the legend alive is that powerful men refuse to let it go. And Jiang Wu nods along. Gang Zhouha missed the afternoon entirely and has only just caught up. He looks over at Oh Boy Yu and asks, honestly curious, why the emperor would have wanted a demonic sect at all. It had little to do with him taking power, which he did with the army. Oh Boy Yu answers from his corner without any expression. The emperor is cultivating an evil technique that runs on the blood of young boys and girls, and slaughtering an entire clan was only ever cover for it. The table goes cold at that. I feel it too, and it confirms something. Sooner or later, I end up across a line from the imperial court, and this world is a great deal darker than I gave it credit for. As for whatever danger Oh Boy Yu drags in behind him, I am relaxed. Any school that recruits will keep collecting problems like this, and the only variable is how big each one turns out to be. Show me an expert with a simple past. I will wait. After Peng De leaves, the Clear Sky Sect goes back to the plan as written. Apart from the occasional patrol, I spend my days cultivating and teaching Seo Young, because I intend her to lead the next generation, and I understand the Heavenly Thunder spiritual route far better now. My own speed has gone somewhere I never expected, and for the first time in either life, I know what it is to be the genius in the room. My junior brothers and sisters already have their spells, and the ceiling now is their own comprehension. Autumn goes by in a hurry. Early winter arrives, and Li Dongwol turns 15. Every one of us has aged a year since Im Simpeng walked off this mountain, and the school he left behind is not the school it was. Snow comes down through the gaps in the branches and settles into the forest. Jin Yop is out there in his Clear Sky Sect robes working through a boxing form. Every exhale going up is steam. A voice tells him that this set of his is no good, and he turns and finds Oh Boy Yu a little way off with a load of firewood on his back. Jin Yop cups his hands in a proper salute and says unhappily that there is nothing wrong with the form. The problem is that his own comprehension is too poor. The form is Yang Jiuzhong's, called the 10 Directions Demon Subduing Fist. Jin Yop has seen Oh Mana throw it, overwhelming in his hands, and that image has sat on him ever since. Oh, Mana is slow about most things in life, but not about martial arts, and with fist and footwork he picks things up almost immediately, which many disciples quietly resent. Oh Boy Yu looks at him and tells him to come back at midnight, when he will teach him a set of staff techniques that may finally get him onto the road properly. Then he keeps walking up the mountain, without waiting for an answer. Midnight. Jin Yop frowns after him, and the hesitation crawls up in him, because he remembers what Peng De said in the courtyard and does not know how much of Oh Boy Yu to trust. About 150 feet away, at the top of the forest, I stand on a branch and have heard all of it. From up here, the whole mountain has gone under white, and the distance I can see keeps shrinking. My senses have been climbing along with my cultivation, and that conversation came to me across all that ground with every word intact, unblurred by wind or snow. I muttered to myself about the theatrics. I am not worried the old man means my disciple harm. because Oh Boyu's loyalty has climbed steadily and is over 80 now, and nobody at 80 does something stupid. Still, Jin Yope is my second disciple, so I will be there tonight to watch. And right then a line of text opens in front of my eyes. Because someone inside the Clear Sky Sect has created an original spell for the first time, I have earned another legacy reward. That first creation has left a deep mark on the growth of the Tao lineage, a self-created spell, and I have no idea whose. I run the list and come up short, because apart from me, the only genuine cultivators here are my third junior brother, my fourth junior sister, Yang Jiljong, and Seo Yang. The two who went down to the underground spirit lake this morning were Gang Joha and Lee Se-jiam, so my first guess lands on Gang Joha. Jin Yope's lesson can wait an hour. I come off the branch and glide over the forest like a startled swan, crossing all that clean snow without leaving a print. Coming up toward the mountain gate, I pass disciples the whole way, some drilling forms, some hauling loads, some sparring under the bare trees. It finally looks like a real school of the martial world, instead of 4 children in a ruin. I have barely stepped into the new courtyard when Yang Jiljong cuts me off. His face lit up, saying there is something he has to tell me. He grips my wrist hard enough that I know he is not tracking his own strength. So it is him, which surprises me, because of everyone here he started cultivating last. I follow him to the trees beside the new courtyard, and he looks left, looks right, and waits until nobody is within earshot. Then he puts his hands on his hips and announces, grinning like a man holding 4 aces, that he has fused the Hanwan scripture with his 9 heavens divine palm and multiplied its power. That palm made his name years ago, savage and overwhelming, recallable whenever he likes, and anyone it lands on gets a shattered dantian and broken bones. He knows a great many arts, but that one he is taught to exactly one person, and that person is Oh Mana. My eyes come up at that because I tried this myself. Running Origin Chi through a martial art was one of the first things I attempted after I understood what the Supreme Clarity Primordial Scripture was, and I never made it work. He did, so I tell him to show me. He turns away, drops into a horse stance, and draws both fists to his waist, and as he channels, the snow under his boots melts and lifts in threads of steam. I raise an eyebrow, because I did not expect this much. He is still nourishing Origin Realm, first layer, not even into the second, and what I feel off him is no less than Yuk Taidu of the Seven Peaks Alliance. What makes it stranger is that his comprehension ability on the panel is nothing remarkable. He does not keep me waiting. When his aura peaks, his right palm swings out, and his upper body pitches forward. And what comes off his hand is like a dragon leaving the abyss. The palm force turns into a visible wave of air that shears the snow off the ground as though a river were cut in half, knocking an old tree flat. Then, while the energy still drives outward, he snaps the palm back, and the force comes home with everything it picked up, snow and leaves and gravel rushing back at us. My robes crack around me, and I think, honestly, that the 9 heavens divine palm is extremely cool. That recall is not decoration either, because an enemy who just took a heavy blow and wants to run does not get to. He waves his right arm and disperses what is left, the power-tearing gullies 30 feet long into the snowpack. Then he lifts his chin at me, which is his way of demanding a grade. I tell him it is genuinely impressive and that he should write the technique down for the Scripture Pavilion, where it will stand as a unique skill of the Clear Sky Sect. I will not forget the contribution. He starts to argue and swallows it, because without the Hanwan scripture that palm would never have carried such weight. What he says instead, ruefully, is that it is a pity his cultivation only lets him throw the one palm, since the drain is enormous. His new internal chi is vaster than anything before, and one strike still empties him. That is the moment he sees the ceiling of the Hanwan scripture and understands that calling it a peerless divine technique is not flattery. A thing like that loose in the martial world would raise a storm of blood. The way he looks at me changes, because a sect leader who hands a stranger a technique like that is sincere. I tell him to be patient, that he has been on the Hanwan scripture no time at all and in 10 years will stand among the top experts of the martial world. He asks whether I am looking down on the Hanwan scripture or on him, because 10 years from now he intends to be number 1 under heaven. Then he adds, with less heroism, except for our own people. Gang Joha and Seo Young terrify him, and Oh Mana and Lee Sapung are coming up behind them. Smart man. Knows exactly which room he is in. I let that go and ask instead how he fused the two, and he holds nothing back and walks me through the whole process. I listen a long while and still cannot follow where the idea came from, so I put it down to experience, the one advantage none of us can close in the short term. A spell created inside the Clear Sky Sect is a large contribution, So before dinner I have Jang Ok-chun kill a chicken and announce the achievement, hoping it lights a fire under somebody. What exactly he made, I do not specify. After dinner, Gang Jo-ha comes to ask about it, and with him I do not hide anything. When he learns Yang Jul-jung used the Hanwon scripture as a reference to rebuild his own technique into something stronger, he goes quiet, says almost nothing, and takes his leave. If that stings him, good, because I want him creating a spell of his own. Nobody, neither a Dao lineage, nor an ordinary school, ever turned down more martial arts. And that is what a foundation is. Near midnight, I am in the woods where Jin Yop and Oh Boyu agreed to meet, and I wait a while before he arrives. He stands there uneasy and half regretting it, but wanting strength more than comfort. He understands his own arithmetic, because practicing under Yang Jo-jong keeps him level with every other disciple and will never make him stand out, so he is gambling. A branch snaps in the dark and pulls him out of his own head. He turns and sees Oh Boyu coming out of the black with an oil lamp swinging in one hand, and neither of them knows I am in the tree above them. Oh Boyu tells him he is clearly frightened and came anyway, which proves he has ambition in his bones. He hangs the lamp on a branch, pulls 2 wooden sticks from behind his back and throws one across. Jin Yop nearly fumbles the catch, dark enough that the old man does not see him go red. Then Oh Boyu asks whether he knows why he was chosen. Jin Yop guesses it is because he works hard, and Oh Boyu says no. It is because his talent is poor, and his master does not value him. That lands on the boy like a knife. And on me too, and inwardly I curse the old man for sowing discord. Then, I make myself sit with the second half of it, because it is not wrong. Jin Yeop came to me through an exchange of interests rather than affection, but he is still my disciple, and I have been neglecting him. From here on I will take better care of him, because the kid works harder than anyone and carries none of the swagger a rich family's son is entitled to. Oh Boyu keeps going, flat and unbothered, saying he cannot reach Seo Young, so Jin Yop is who he can reach. He needs the staff carried forward, and passing it to an ordinary disciple would mean it never survives as a legacy of the Clear Sky Sect. He adds that the Jin family has ambitions and officialdom, so one day this staff can carry Jin Yop across a battlefield, and once he masters it he will match 10,000 men. Jin Yo asks carefully how, after everything done to him, the old man can still be willing to send him into the army. Oh, Boyu answers, without any movement in his face. The emperor is incompetent and treacherous officials hold the power, and that is a temporary condition. They were born on this land, and defending it is what martial artists are for. Always. Jin Yeop's blood comes up, and something in him turns toward the old man that was not there a minute ago. Then Oh Boyu tells him to begin. The technique is the 10,000 army demon subduing staff. The expert who taught it to him was a mystery whose real name he never learned, so if Jin Yop ever meets him, he should pass on the thanks. He finishes by calling it the #1 staff technique under heaven. Then he brings the long staff level and I stop worrying, because I have no interest in that staff and this is Jin Yop's own fortune. Over the following days, whenever Oh Boyu has time, he teaches. 7 days later, Jang Ok-chun comes to find me and says, Oh Boyu has gone down the mountain. He chose to leave because he was afraid of what he might bring down on the Clear Sky Sect. I send nobody after him. The man left his unique skill behind, which is more than most guests leave. Jang Ok-chun sighs and says the target of 50 disciples before the end of the year is impossible. And he is right, because without fame recruiting is brutal. He could take refugees, but those columns are orphans, and the old and sick and crippled. And what this school needs is young bodies that can work. I smile and tell him I was only talking, and that a solid foundation beats numbers piled up for their own sake. He stays glum, and we talk a while longer before he goes. Nothing else happens this winter. Peng Day and his government runners never come back, and not one traveler climbs up asking for a bed. 2 months evaporate. Seo Young reaches Nourishing Origin Realm, 3rd layer, and nobody else in the Clear Sky Sect has touched the 2nd, which tells you how hard cultivation is. As the Lunar New Year comes on, we finally get a visitor, Jin Yop's father, Jin Gyol. He arrives with better than a dozen servants hauling chests, grain, good wine, bedding, and the sincerity is not subtle. Jang Ok-chun and Yang Jil-jung and I sit with him over tea, while Jin Yop sweeps the courtyard nearby, working and listening at once. We talk about nothing a while, and then Jin Gyol mentions a major thing from last month. A demonic sect expert retired more than 10 years surfaced again, carried an iron staff into the imperial palace, killed over 100 imperial guards, and came within reach of the emperor himself. The Heaven Protection Guard brought him down together and his head went up on the wall of the imperial capital as a warning. Then Jin Gyul adds that this was no ordinary man, but the demonic sect's northern expulsion guardian. His name was Oh Boyu, and he committed every evil there is and killed people the way a farmer cuts hay. He says the death was ugly, that they even gouged the eyes out because the emperor could not stand the way the man looked at him. The broom hits the ground and Jin Yeop stands with his face gone blank, staring straight at his father. The winter is cold and ice is packed across the courtyard, and today the chill goes through to somewhere under the ribs. Jang Ok-chun's face changes, and I know mine does too, because neither of us expected Oh Boyu to end like that. He was not with us long, but we lived beside him day and night, and a death lands differently when you have watched a man chop firewood every morning. Jang Ok-chun has it worst, since he brought Oh Boyu up this mountain, and right now he is very slightly shaking. Yang Jiuljong recovers first, and does it deliberately. He lifts an eyebrow and asks, sounding amazed, how a guardian of the demonic sect, a top-tier expert, could be foolish enough to storm the imperial palace alone. It works, and Jin Gyul's eyes come off Jin Yeop and go to him instead. Jin Gyul says he wondered the same thing, and the rumor is the man may have gone into chi deviation. Since the current emperor took the throne, he has ordered the demonic sect purged, so whatever remnants are left must hate him past reason. Then he shifts into open admiration and says the famous old generation experts are genuinely formidable. The imperial palace is guarded to the last inch, and this man came in the front gate and fought his way to the emperor's bedchamber. The imperial guards were roused that night, and even the Heaven Protection Guard spent a great deal to bring him down. He says a man with the courage to stand against 10,000 would have been a blessing to the Great Li dynasty on a battlefield. It is a shame he fell to the demonic sect. He finishes by saying, Oh Boyu deserved his end, and what worries him now is the emperor being frightened enough to purge the martial world wholesale. Jang Ok-chun's face is not holding, so I step across it and ask Jin Gyul for martial world news. He smiles and says, the martial world never runs short of news. The Azure Sect and the Seven Peaks Alliance are about to go to war, and he thinks the Azure Sect could grow into a second demonic sect. While he talks, Jin Yeop catches Yang Jiuljong winking at him, takes up the broom, and turns his back to sweep snow. The tears run down his face and fall into the snow, leaving nothing behind, the same way Oh Boyu did. We talk a little longer, then I take Jang Ok-chun out and leave Yang Jiuljong with the guest. The moment my door shuts, Jang Ok-chun slaps himself across the face, and I ask what he is doing. He gets it out through his teeth. If he had never brought the old man here, the county magistrate would never have recognized him and sent him to the imperial palace. Oh, Boyu walked into that death to clear us of suspicion, he says. Because nobody asks who a dead man drank tea with. I shake my head. There was no way to see it coming, and the old man would have gone to the palace sooner or later wherever he lived. I ask whether he has forgotten why Oh Boyu kept accepting challenges from anyone who climbed up here. He was not hunting for a loss, he was hunting for an heir to his art. And did he never notice the man had no life chi left, his will flattened, nothing able to startle or please him? His face eases, but the weight stays. This is the first person he has known who died. The death was ugly, and he has a fire in his chest with nowhere to put it. So I tell him the Clear Sky Sect is still too weak, and there's much we cannot change. The only thing available to us is to get strong enough not to repeat somebody else's tragedy. He nods. We talk a few minutes more, and he goes. Alone, I sit cross-legged on the bed and let my face do whatever it wants. Oh Boyu's death rattled me badly. Gang Joa had to reach Nourishing Origin Realm, 3rd layer, to beat that old man. And that was a friendly bout with nothing riding on it. And Oh Boyu, who had decided to die, would have been stronger still, which means somebody in the Imperial Palace can kill an expert at the 3rd layer. It is not surprising. The Emperor can assemble the strongest men in the Great Li dynasty, and not every expert wants to rot on a mountain when there is fame and money below. I want to be stronger, and soon. The world is coming apart, and nobody can tell me when the court's blade swings toward this mountain. After an incense sticks burn, I go out and help the disciples ready the new year. This is the second one the Clear Sky Sect has spent with me as sect leader, and my mood is not their problem. Through the festival, Jin Gyul asks whether I want more disciples, since the Jin family would gladly send another batch, and I decline politely. When the holiday ends, he takes his servants down and we drop back into the ordinary rhythm. That evening, I take Jin Yo up into the woods and teach him the 1st layer mind cultivation technique of the Hanwhan scripture. And I never mention Oh Boyu. Since the news came, the boy has been dark and quiet, with none of his old liveliness. I am worried he will not climb out, so I give him something to hold instead. Half a month later, I break into Nourishing Origin Realm, 4th layer. With the heavenly thunder spiritual root and the most hours in the underground spirit lake, I am easily the fastest cultivator here.